All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of Pawn Shop of Life. We're going to do our podcast today on boating safety, the Great Loop, and disc golf. I'm your host, Brad BCG. I have my two co-hosts here, Tammy B48, Baby Kangaroo, and today we have a special guest, Scott. He is a GS-13 for the Coast Guard. He is the search and rescue specialist for a district level, and we're going to go ahead and kick this off. So what does everybody think about the topics today? What you think, babe?
I think they're great. I have a little bit to contribute to each one of those. Not a lot, but definitely interested to see what everyone has to say about the topics.
Baby Kangaroo?
I seriously hope that people listen and take them for action.
Especially the boat safety stuff.
Yes.
What you think, Scott?
1 out of 3, I think's good. The boating safety.
Well, there is that.
Well, one of them has something to do with boating safety, especially since it's the Great Loop. All right, so let's see.
That's my thing.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. Since Tammy was never in the military, how much time do we have between all three of us? I've got 21 years, and Coast Guard is all boating safety, regardless of what end or what your job is. You're part of boating safety. So I've got 21, and you got.
You have more than 21 because how many years you have as a civilian?
Oh, well, that's true too. So 23.
Okay,
going on 24.
Let me think. I have 22, and then 11 to. I was told there'd be no math.
That's only for Tammy. I
That's
expect you
only
to be
for
able to
me.
do math.
I have like 14 years as a civilian now, so like 36,
All right.
something like that.
What you got, Scott?
Just including the civilian time and active duty time, I'm coming up on 33 years.
So we've got right at 100 years between the three of us
Give or take.
of boating safety, search and rescue, and some aspects.
I've never been enlisted, but I've been in just as long as you have.
Yeah, but that's like I don't know. It's just extra. I don't know what to say.
Well, she's got coastie in her.
I'm a spouse of a coastie from the day you joined, so
All right, fair enough. All right, so let's see. What are we starting off with? We got, like I said, doing boating safety. All right, so we're going to do a quick, since Tammy, you tell us, what does boating safety mean to you? We're going to make it easy.
boating safety to me means anything and everything that you can possibly do to keep yourself and anyone else on your recreational vehicle safe while you're out on the water from the time you leave till the time you get home.
What's your definition?
Stupid people not being stupid.
Make it more complicated. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that wrong?
No, it's not wrong. Not wrong at all. What would be your definition, Scott?
I think it would be being prepared before, during, and after going out on the water in any type of craft.
All right, see, there's the SAR specialist at a district level coming out of him. Boating safety to me is
That's the most political statement you'll ever hear him make.
Yeah, it probably is. I think mine is doing everything and anything you can to be able to make sure your trip is a safe return. I'm more simplistic. Scott's got some political shit. Tammy's is somewhere a mix of that. And Rome's is
I'm a
Don't be
cynical
stupid.
asshole.
yeah, he's just a bigger asshole than I am. So apparently,
Well,
All
I've been doing this longer than you.
well, that's true. I mean,
So
And he's a lot older and uglier.
I have better hair.
yeah, well,
Yeah, there is that.
you know what? Fuck off. I'd really like to argue, but I got that thing going on. It's what it is. All right, items for a safe trip. Let's start with Tammy. What you got?
PFDs,
Yeah, that's a big one.
water, food.
You got to read the list I got on the whiteboard. Is that what you're doing?
But
I
I
got
mean,
No,
the
there's no
outline.
food on there.
first of all, I mean, items for a safe trip, obviously you need PFDs for everyone that's on board.
And that includes your Type 4 throw.
Well, I mean, that's the law, so I would hope people would comply with the law.
Yeah, right.
But not
You
just
really
the law,
think
but just
people
the fact that you want people to be able to have their own PFD if something happens.
You really think people comply with the laws? That's why
Oh my
we have
God,
a job.
no,
That's
no.
why we have jobs.
You're exactly it.
How long have we been ruining Darwinism?
I know.
1790?
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Screwing with the process of natural selection since 1790.
Absolutely. And I think I got it on my list back here, but I know
Kutch gave me a coin with that on it.
what? Ruining?
Screwing with the process of natural selection since 1790.
I need to see that one. Make sure I see that next time I come
All
to
right,
your house.
I got to find it. I've moved twice since then.
Oh, all right, fair enough. Yeah, PFDs are a big thing. I want to go with make sure you have a PFD that's bright. Don't buy PFDs that are the
Camouflage.
color of the water.
Hey, there's the thought.
The color of the mud of Mississippi River that it is. We need something orange, something yellow, something that is contrast to whatever environment that you're in, not something that mixes with it.
So here's my feeling about that. Because there are a lot of people who want to wear camouflage stuff, right? And I get that. So my suggestion would be buy one of the, Scott, and you can probably tell me which one it is. It's one of the ones that's a harness and it's inflatable. You wouldn't remember which class that is?
I think they're still considered a class 3 as long as you're wearing them. I could be wrong. I haven't been in those regs recently. But regardless, whether you get an inflatable, whether you get a type 3 vest type life jacket, you need to keep in mind that you want to help the rescuers rescue you.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I like about the inflatables is they can be whatever color you want them to be. And when they activate, they're bright orange.
And they don't mess up your tan as bad as a vest.
There you go. That's it. Not nearly as bad as a vest.
And talking about this, one item that is for a safe trip is going to be float plan.
Yes,
That's something
but don't call and give it to the Coast Guard.
Yes, please don't.
And that's what I was going to say beforehand. I think it's more than just the safety equipment. I think it's preparedness prior to even getting on the boat. Obviously, having the safety equipment is important, but looking at the weather, looking what's coming. I mean, so many people get themselves in trouble and we have all the information in your hand most of the time. So there's no excuse for not knowing what your conditions are going to be once you get on the water.
Call the cell phone.
And like you said, the float plan, give that float plan to somebody who's at home waiting for your safe return so that they know exactly where you are when you're supposed to be back. So if something happens, they can report it right away.
Family member, friend, and I think some boat launches will actually take a float plan too.
And
I know the one that I go to, if I went up to her and I was like, hey.
At the Wrigley's, yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to go out at this time. Here's where I'm going. You don't see me back before, nightfall. Call somebody.
And I think it's important. I mean, you don't know how many spouses, well, you guys know, that call at their husband's overdue or whatever. Well, and I mean, they don't even know what kind of boat it is, what color it is. I mean, they can't even identify
what kind of
the
safety
vessel.
equipment you have on board.
Where they launch from, somewhere in Southeast Louisiana. I mean, those types of information are critical to doing our job and saving lives. But 85% of the time, we don't even get that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that'd be a good thing for if you're going boating, walk out there, take a picture of your boat, text it to your wife or whoever you've set the float plan with, because they'll have a picture of it and be like, oh, because you can get something new on your boat, change the canopy of some sorts. Maybe you put some stickers on it, renamed the boat. There's all kind of things that come into that. So those are things to think about before you even get underway, just to make sure somebody knows what you're on, what it looks like.
I have a perfect example of just how stupid people can be. When I bought my boat years ago, I was looking at new boats, and I was going in all these dealerships, and this guy's like, and this boat's real good in heavy weather. And I'm like, dude, I don't care about heavy weather. I said, I'm not going out in that. He's like, well, you might get caught out in it. I'm like, no, I don't. I said, I know what the weather's going to do. If it looks like it's going to be rough at all, I'm not going out.
Yeah.
I got to go out in rough weather, get my ass kicked for work. I'm not interested in doing it for fun. So that's a perfect example of, I'm sure that he's talked with a lot of people like, oh, I never even thought about that. It was South Florida. There's a lot of fucking stupid people in South Florida.
No.
I know, shocker, right?
I don't think it's just strictly.
It's not unique to South Florida. There's just more people in South Florida. So there's more stupid people since there's more people.
More boats.
And more boats.
Yeah. You think there's more boats in South Florida than Louisiana here?
Oh, a lot more.
Oh, yeah, because they take.
Well, the population's a lot bigger.
Bimini, too. They take that run from, what is it, Miami or Fort Lauderdale to Bimini, and they have that.
Oh, the Bahamas?
Yeah, that whole.
Fort Lauderdale is about the closest you can get in the United States. I know because I've ridden over to Bimini in my boat one day.
Did you? How fast were you going?
60 knots or so.
Speed of smell.
It was a very calm day, and the ex and I had gone out scuba diving, and I'm like, hey, you want to go to the Bahamas? She's like, what are you talking about? I said, it's only like an hour that way. She's like, really? I said, yeah. So we hauled ass over. We didn't even go in. We didn't land or anything. I'm like, okay, look, there it is. She's like, I didn't think it was that close. I said, I know. You ready to go back and have lunch? She's like, yeah.
All right, let's see. So I actually haven't looked into it. All I know is the regs changed for fire extinguishers recently, like in the last, 3 years?
It has, and it's you need to look at the regs based on the size of vessel and what kind of operations you're doing. Obviously, there's different regs for commercial vessels. There's different regs for recreational vessels. Certain types of vessels with certain engines might require 2 5-pound fire extinguishers, while other ones might only require 1. But if you have an onboard firefighting system like Halon, it can count as 1, but you still need the other portable. Majority of recreational craft, 21 foot and smaller, only require 1 fire extinguisher. The majority of them, but it's worth looking into when you buy a boat.
Yeah, because I think I don't have the correct one on my boat, but I haven't taken it out in a year now.
And been quite that long, but it's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there. So, I mean, I know I got to do that, but I mean, of course, I need to get the service done and everything else. So there is that. So be aware that they did change in the last 2 or 3 years. So y'all look into that.
We're gonna talk about this here in just a little bit, but so for example, Scott, the boat that I'm looking to buy for the Great Loop is going to be in the 40-foot range with inboard diesel engines. So you're saying, because it's going to have an installed system, because if it doesn't have an installed system, I'm going to install an installed system. But I would still need, I mean, it makes sense that you want a portable too, because there's a lot of boat that's not in the installed engine system.
And if you're going to have a galley, you probably wouldn't want more than just one portable. You're probably going to want one in the galley.
Yeah.
Because especially with your cooking, and then another one, near the engine room.
Dude, I'm a coon ass. I know how to cook.
That's why I said he'll be frying everything on board.
Should be. You can get a little grill over to the side and just.
Well, a lot of the boats that I've been looking at online, they already have grills on them.
Do they?
Yeah.
So that'd be awesome. Fresh catch.
It's a mount. Cook. It goes right into the rod holder.
Yeah. That's dope. I love shit like that.
I can't wait till Joey's a SAR case.
And it's gonna be an inland river thing too.
Yeah, and that's the funny part, because the vast majority of the Great Loop is inside our AOR. At least half of it, if not more.
Do we want to take a stab at the inland river search and rescue shit? Anybody want to make a quick comment?
With regards to our response posture?
Whether or not we should be doing it?
Is it really search and rescue if it's a river and you can swim to the bank and go downriver? I know we've lost people, so I'm not joking about that.
It is. It's just it's a completely different search and rescue. And I mean, being like you gents know, we don't, and ladies, we don't have any resources up there. So you're completely reliant upon the local, state, federal agencies to assist, even though there's Coast Guard up there to make sure they're notified. It's such a bunch of waterways that we just don't have the situational awareness of.
Yeah, assets where it needs to be at the time of the incident, kind of thing. 'Cause I think once in 5 years that I've been there, that I found that we actually had a SAR case where we did something, and it was like a 4th of July or some shit like that, and they happened to be underway for patrol anyway, and then come across this boat that was taking on water.
Oh, the boathouse was underway?
The river tender or the boathouse?
It was the boathouse.
Oh.
And like the stern was going down, kind of thing, and they were like, "Oh shit! Well, look, we actually have a SAR case," and it was legit. That's once in 5 years, though.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and that's just some of the measures that I pulled up a while back. I mean, there were a couple of instances where Coast Guard resources did save people over the last 20 years, and it's just like you're saying, Brad. I mean, it was we obviously have buoy tenders out there, and somebody started taking on water within a mile of where a buoy tender was working a fixed aid.
Yep.
So it can happen, but I really wish the Coast Guard did not have a SAR presence on the Western rivers, because they have no aircraft. And with our aircraft constraints right now, we're not sending anything that far inland anyway.
No. And for any of those listeners, I don't think anybody, even people who call in, I don't think anybody that calls in or at least knows that we're the Coast Guard understands how many or how limited we are in resources. So for all you listeners, just so you know how we are, the Coast Guard is and has been making lemonade out of lemons ever since we were created.
Since at least 1985 when I joined.
So because I mean, we used to have Falcons, but they flew at what, 300 knots?
620.
Was it 620?
They were, they bought those because, cocaine cowboys.
Oh, okay.
That was why the Falcons got purchased.
So they did have a purpose at the time. But now,
they were counter LE. They were not SAR.
Yeah. So for the entire Gulf of Mexico, which our AOR runs from the Mexico-Texas border all the way around almost Apalachicola, so armpit of Florida. We have one HC 144 out of Mobile. We have a 60 out of New Orleans, a 65 out of Houston, and a 65 and a 144 out of Corpus. And that's for the entire Gulf of Mexico. So if we have 2 or 3 cases popping off, we are instantly in dire need of more aircraft, more crew, more everything to be able to effectively do a search and rescue case if you get into a situation.
Well, sometimes we go to Air Station Clearwater and say, "Please, can we have some more?" and beg for a C-130, but they're gone now. They took all the C-130s out of Clearwater.
Mm-hmm.
They're all C-27s.
The C-27s, C-27 does not have the sensor package for search and rescue that the C-130 or the CASA has, not to mention we could get into the math behind it. We don't have the lateral range curves to do the proper search planning.
And they're saying
we're doing away with the 27s though, right?
Yeah, C-27. So what are they going to put into Clearwater, I wonder?
We don't even have enough 144s to cover that.
Yeah, the 144s will probably stay at Mobile and Corpus, and I think they're going to keep the C-27s at Clearwater just for the LE support at this point with the migrant operations.
So we're basically going to do away with fixed wing for search and rescue almost?
For now. Apparently they're coming out with some type of short-term solution, whether it's a lease of an aircraft, but I haven't got the official word yet on that.
Great, lease of an aircraft.
They need to buy what are the replacement for the Blackhawks, the tilt rotor.
Osprey?
No, God, no, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a smaller one. Hang on a minute. Let me see. Y'all go on. I'm going to look it up.
All right, well, he's looking that up. I think we made mentions of it earlier. Check the weather, check the tides. I can't count how many times. If you're a duck hunter, check the tides. I don't understand why it's that difficult or why it's that complicated to see. This is where I'm going to go, and this is what the tides are doing now. When are they going to fall? Because how many times have we had cases where it was a duck hunter went into it with his little mud boat with a gator tail or something that just needs wet mud to be able to get into stuff, and they get out there and then they can't do anything.
Well, and that's the thing. The ducks move when we start getting northerners, and on the east-west oriented coastline, like the majority of the Gulf Coast, a north wind blows all the water out of the marsh. So they may go out there and there's 1.5 feet of water when they head to the blind, and then by the time they leave, the boat's sitting on the bottom inside the blind, and they're stranded.
Yeah,
and temperatures that are in the 20s and 30s, which even causes more problems.
Yeah, and I think that goes into the whole boating safety thing. And I think our next item was like a ditch kit.
Okay, let me go back to what I was talking about.
Okay, what you got?
It's a
Aircraft.
Bell 280 Valor, right? And it's a tilt rotor. Looks just like a 60. It looks like somebody said, okay, fine, we're going to take a 60, put a wing on the top of it, and put a couple of tilt rotors on it. You've never seen that before?
No.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, my boss was mentioning, so the Air Force has a contract with some type of mid-range helicopter between the 65 and the 60, and maybe he was guessing, it was hypothetical that maybe we would tag on to that contract since it's already there. The syllabus is already in place, the training and everything for crew. So if it is something like that, we'll have resources again sooner. 2 H-60s to support the entire Gulf of Mexico from the Texas-Louisiana state line to Apalachicola is just not enough.
No, it's
Well,
not.
the reason why I think tilt rotors are a good idea is because that aircraft flies at 280 knots and it has like a 7-hour endurance. It's twice as fast, a little over twice as fast as a 60.
Yeah.
With just as much endurance, it gets there faster, it searches faster, and it's still able to hover. I don't understand why. I mean, actually, I do understand why, because the Coast Guard is made up of people who are not original thinkers.
Money.
Well, I mean, you can't use that argument because they're buying 450-foot ships and they're spending tons of money on that.
But how long had they needed that? Because I mean,
they don't need 400. We don't need 450-foot ships.
Well, if we're getting rid of everything else that we have vessel wise, 210s are going away. The 378s are old as dirt.
See, I'm somewhat biased with regards to the Coast Guard's missions for obvious reasons, but I've always felt like the American public gets more from the Coast Guard via their small boat stations, their air stations, their coastal units that protect our citizens close to shore. These deep water vessels are out in the middle of the Caribbean. They're crossing the Atlantic, Pacific. They're supporting so much DoD functions that they're really not a close home resource to helping the American people and the boating public, whether it be commercial or
that was what I thought. I thought, why don't build, instead of building, I don't know, whatever the plan is right now, 25 offshore patrol cutters or something like that.
OPCs, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of building 25 of those, why don't we build 10 and then go and pull the plans from the Navy when they were using the Cyclone class, the Tsunami class, the 170s?
175s, yeah.
Yeah. And,
And they used to have those in Pascagoula.
Yeah,
we could probably build.
We couldn't afford the fuel in them.
Well, my suggestion would be to pull 2 of the engines out because we don't need to be able to do 50 knots. Put more fuel in them. Because you're right, our requirements are completely different than what the Navy's were. But pull 2 engines out, build a bunch of those, because you could probably build 5 of those for what it would cost to build 1 offshore patrol cutter. And then that gives you a lot more capability in terms of volume. And we don't need to be sending boats. I know all you guys that are on big boats love going to Japan and Australia and shit, but we don't need to send boats down there. If you want to go to Japan and Australia, join the fucking Navy.
Yeah, but see, in that regards, it's going to be the same thing as what's happening now. They were like, hey, just build a bunch of 87s. It'll be great. We'll have a lot more and we'll put them out there. And now we're getting rid of the 87s.
Dude, that's not true. The 87 is not a very capable platform. It's basically a giant 41-footer.
Yeah, it's the concept, though. If we buy a bunch of 87s, we'll be able to put them a lot more along the line, and now they're doing away with them because, like you said, they're hunk of shit.
Yeah, but does anybody say anything bad about, except for the fact that they break all the time, the FRCs? That's a very capable platform.
How many have we lost in the last couple of years?
We only lost 1, and it was on a boat. It was a fire in a dry dock.
Yeah, but we lost 1.
Oh yeah, it's gone,
burnt down.
Yeah, but that was the dockyard's fault, not the Coast Guard's fault.
I'm not saying the FRCs. The FRCs are good, which aren't we putting OSs on those? Swapping an OS and a BM?
Yeah. No, it's not OS. They're taking the ET2s off.
Oh, okay. I knew they were putting OSs on them to try to get them, but I mean, cutters don't typically do SAR. I know it happens every now and then. They're not they're not capable of responding very quickly. The majority of search and rescue is done by aircraft, point blank, with probably 10% being supported by your small boat community.
All right, let me ask y'all this. I think Scott was enlisted and wound up going to officer, so he might have a more in-depth thought on this. So I got
He wore a thong.
You might still have one on.
It is riding up a little bit. Hate it when it splits you up the middle.
Okay, what do you think about it's not going to happen and it's no way? And the only reason I asked this is because I thought about this the other day. What about Coast Guard being somewhat under CBP? And here's the reason I asked this. Hold on a second. Here's the reason I asked this is CBP has called us before, and they were like, I'm so-and-so. I'm with CBP. I'm flying out of Jacksonville. I'm making a trip that way. If y'all happen to have any search and rescue cases, call us and let us know. Here's our call sign. We're on these 2 forms of communications for y'all to get in touch with us. They have assets that are looking...
they have very good assets
that are looking for something to do.
I don't disagree. But then why not put CBP under the Coast Guard? Because we're bigger than they are.
Well, they're more important right now.
And from statutory authority, we have more than they do.
CBP has a lot better authority.
Since the new administration came in, I would probably guess to say that we're not going to be having CBP going, hey, if you got anything for us to do. Because they are super employed now.
Well, yeah. They instantly went to being short. But it's just the concept of they have so many aircraft with such good sensor packages, so much better equipment than we do. I don't understand why they have so much better stuff when ours is to save lives. And not that, protecting the border is not important. But I mean, to me, saving lives is more important than protecting the border.
Yeah, but then Congress would have to change the statutory authority.
We're not getting into that. It's just the concept. I mean, I'm not trying to go down a technical rabbit hole. I'm just saying that they have assets. They have the means. They've got some LE authority that's easier to do than we do.
Well, and their resources come about in a different way as well. Unlike us, when we write tickets for whatever it may be, that money goes into a general fund and we never see it again. If you go to OFO for CBP, there is 20 planes sitting on the ground, and the planes that they seize for drug operations or something, in my understanding, is they're allowed to keep them and utilize them for their mission.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's like a regular cop shop when they seize assets.
And even when they sell stuff that contraband or
keep the money.
They keep the money, and it goes into an operational fund. That's my understanding.
Well, if that's true, then I definitely would not want the Coast Guard to keep what we seize.
No.
So we have a lot of illegal fisheries that comes across from Mexico across the MBL. And we do a lot of stuff out of SBI.
So why aren't we? I don't understand that. Well, I don't understand why we're not selling the red snapper instead of returning it to the sea. I've never understood that.
I love me some red snapper.
Yeah, I mean, we had a case the other day. They had it was a big case actually. They had like 1,200 kilos, which worked out to like 2,500 pounds of red snapper. I know. At $12 a pound, you do the math. That's
and we're only talking a 20-foot-ish,
and that's
boat.
only one boat.
Yeah. And we've gotten reports before that there's up to 10, I think is the biggest group that I've seen come north of the MBL.
I mean, so 1,000 pounds would be 12 grand. So you double that time like 2.5, you're looking at $30,000 worth of fish. And we throw it over the side. We document it and then throw it over the side.
I mean, it's definitely a waste.
I mean, yeah, but you could say the same thing for even like wildlife and fisheries. If you're, if something's not right in any way, shape, form, or fashion for whatever you're getting, whether it be oysters, fish, whatever, shrimp, blah, blah, blah.
Didn't tag the deer.
If you didn't tag it, it goes to waste. Well, the deer actually, they repurpose and they give it to people who need food. But
orphanages, that kind of thing.
But for like fish and like oysters and shrimp and shit like that, they make them throw it back over.
Well, okay. The distinction here, though, is if it's still alive, that's the policy. You return it to the sea because then nothing is lost.
But if it's not,
which is most of the time because they catch it and instantly throw it on ice.
Right.
So they die.
Right.
I don't know, dude. You fish. You know how long a fish stays alive on ice?
Most reef fish, other than catfish, don't stay alive that long. 15, 20 minutes, and even after 5, they're not capable of being resuscitated.
Then you're making my argument for me, though. All right, bring it in. It's been preserved. It's been on ice. Sell it.
Yeah.
But they won't do that. They still throw them overboard.
I know that, and I never understood why.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
They
I
don't
get
do it with shrimp. They don't discharge shrimp overboard.
Well, no, because I guess the way they look at it is nothing really goes to waste once it's returned to the sea. It feeds other critters.
Yeah, crabs. Yeah.
Crabs.
I mean, yeah, and there is a case for like oysters if they're not properly, managed and stored, they're going to present like a huge health risk.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but oysters live a long time out of water.
They do. Yeah, as long as you don't pop them open.
Yeah, if they're sealed up, they live a long time.
Well, and they're stored.
You can go to the store and buy them on the dry aisle.
Exactly.
Okay, that was my one thing. My second thing is, Scott, you were a BM.
Yep, I was a bosun mate.
Okay, so when you were a BM, do y'all have a boarding monthly quota that you have to reach, or in some realm of that, do you have something like that? Or
We didn't have a quota, but for reasons, we always had like a competition between the boat crews on how many people would do, the most quality boardings, proper boardings to include quality being do education in addition to checking for safety gear. I know at Station New Orleans in the 90s, the duty section that was on that got the most boardings got like a 72-hour Liberty Pass, and the boarding officer that got the most boardings got an achievement medal. So it wasn't a big Coast Guard required quota. It was just, amongst the command and the unit to do it. And it's really not being done anymore because I know Station New Orleans, when I was there, I think we did 3,200 boardings, I think in 1998, 97.
For the year?
For the year.
Okay.
Between 3 boat crews. And
So 9 a day.
yeah, but the funny thing was we did check the measures and these search and rescue numbers dropped on every year that we did that many boardings.
I can believe that easily.
The reason I was going down that rabbit hole is for this reason. What you've just said kind of plays into where I'm going to go to. So you said, how many did y'all do in that year ish?
It was around 3,200, I believe.
Okay, and I understand both sides of this coin that I'm fixing to throw at you. But you did that many in that year, which I think Rome just said was 9 a day?
On average.
Okay, so you're messing with mom and pops. What if instead we went to number of boardings if we went to dollar signs? And I say that because you're messing with the guy across the street who lives in a trailer, a double wide trailer, who has a 12-foot boat who just loves to fish. You're going to board him because it's going to be quick. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to board these $1 million yachts because it's...
I would argue that point.
Hang on a second. I mean, you can. That's fine. But I just want to get this point out. The dollar sign, because nobody boards the big ones because it's too much work. What if we went to... I want to hear a pro and a con, or if you even have one of each, of why that would be good or bad. So you said you had, Baby Kangaroo, you got something. What's the...
Okay, when I was on a patrol boat down in South Florida, my skipper had a real simple philosophy because we patrolled the Florida Straits and up on the Grand Bahama Bank. And his philosophy was, if it's heading west, I want to get on it. I don't care what it looks like. If it's heading across the Florida Straits from the Bahamas to the United States, I want to board it.
But how many big boats did you actually board?
We boarded everything from 20-footers to a 400-foot ship.
I get that. But what's the volume of 20-footers versus...
You don't see a lot of small boats when you're out in the Straits, especially over towards the Bahamas, just because people are...
Even though you said you did it in your 25-footer hauling ass.
Yeah, but my boat was kind of the exception to the rule.
Well, in the coastal stations, the large majority, probably 85% of boardings are going to be recreational with regards to the 19, 21-foot center console, bay boat, bass boat, you name it. With another 15 to 20% being commercial fishing vessels usually. And yes, you're correct. Commercial fishing vessels take a lot longer to do a boarding. I could knock out a recreational boarding, check PFDs, sound producing device, and everything probably in 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. And that's where we got the majority of numbers. I mean, back then we'd go park in the Amite Blind River Canal with a 19-foot rigid hull inflatable, and both my BO, my boarding officer, and myself as the coxswain were qualified to do boarding. So we'd just sit there on each side and pull boaters up and do a boarding because they had to pass us. We just sit downriver from the launch. So we'd knock out 20 boardings, 25 boardings, in a few hours. And it was as much about education. Yes, there was no leniency for life jackets, and there was no leniency for children not having life jackets on. I would write a notice of violation for every one of them.
That's a good point.
But the majority of them, it was a 10, 15-minute boarding, checking registration, checking life jackets, checking sound producing device, checking fire extinguishers, filling out the form. The form took longer to do than the actual boarding. And then, they went on their way. And then when people would show us that they had been recently boarding, we didn't board them again. You know, I mean, if they had an auxiliary safety decal showing that they had did the voluntary inspection with the Coast Guard auxiliary, or they held up the yellow slip of a 4100 that was within a year old, we would just let them go. We wouldn't even bother harassing. You know, I won't say harassing them, but we wouldn't even bother boarding them again.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I was wondering, because it's, the Coast Guard it really is depending on who you are. It's kind of like police. You've got a good or a bad rep kind of thing. And it depends on who you ask in the boating community, do you like the Coast Guard or not? And somebody will be like, no, I love them. They save me. And you got these, like I was talking about, double wide guy in his little 12-foot boat or something just trying to fish. I'm like, man, I've been boarded 5 times in the last 3 years. These fuckers won't leave me alone.
And the commercial fishing vessel fleet historically does not like the Coast Guard unless they're sinking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Then they love us.
Then they love us.
You guys are great. You didn't say that last month when we were doing a boarding on you.
Okay, let's see. What we got next on the... All right,
actually, something about that, though. I can tell you that when I bought my boat, I was living in South Florida, and I don't know about here, but do the locals conduct boardings here in Louisiana? They do?
Yes. The coastal sheriff's departments, fire departments, police departments, not fire departments that have water patrols, they do safety boardings, and they pretty much can do it for the same reason we do. We don't need, they don't need probable cause to stop a vessel because of the safety exam gets you around doing probable cause. But the majority of coastal sheriff's departments, especially Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, are pretty robust because they get the Homeland Security grants to help beef up their water patrols.
So here's the reason why I say that, or why I asked the question. All the years I was living in South Florida with my boat, I never got boarded by the Coast Guard. The only time I got boarded was by, there's a caveat to that. The only time I really got boarded, though, was by the Hollywood Police Department. And the funny part was I got boarded by him 3 times in 3 years, the same guy every single time.
What did you do to him?
Well, so I asked him about it finally after the 3rd time.
He thought you were a manatee, didn't he?
Oh, wow. But
I was much thinner then. I was much younger then. And I think because at the time my ex was much younger and a very attractive woman, and she would have her nursing friends come out on the boat with us.
Oh, now the real story comes out.
But after the first time, actually on the 3rd time, I finally asked him, I was like, okay, dude, I don't mind. I said, because I can give you everything in a couple of minutes. He goes, I board you because I know that I'm not going to find anything.
Getting numbers.
Yeah.
See, that goes back to my original point. Like, that's terrible. And,
But-
and again, it just seems like that plays into, if I've got a lot of money, I don't give a fuck about y'all.
When, to his credit, though, and I will say this, because the very first time that he boarded me, he's like, hey, where's your fire extinguisher? And it was at that time underneath my console. And I broke it out, and it was borderline between green and yellow. He goes, you're going to want to replace that. He said they slowly leak down over time. He said, my suggestion is don't mount it under the console because you never see it and you never think about it that way. And so I replaced it, and I put it on my T-top. And so I always saw it.
Actually, that's a really good point, because mine's
Under your
Under
console.
the console.
the console, yeah.
And you don't think about it. I bet if you looked at yours right now.
Well, it's got to be replaced anyway. That goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where the rules changed. Because I haven't done it since, like I said, it was 3 or 4 years ago, and I haven't had it out in a while.
And the only time the Coast Guard ever tried to board me, I was active duty at the time, and I gave them my ID, and they're like, oh, hey, Chief. Okay, we're good. You can go.
Well,
I don't mind, guys.
We keep talking about boardings, but boardings are to check on things that are required by law for a vessel to have.
Oh,
And yes, they will absolutely help you save your life or your loved ones' lives if something goes wrong. But what about all those other things that can significantly increase your chances of success or living if, besides those required items that you're going to be checked on in the boarding?
I mean, I agree. It's just, like I said, I was kind of playing devil's advocate there, because I don't like being harassed by the cops. I don't like being harassed by the Coast Guard. But that's what I said. I understand it's for a reason. But like I said, it's the rich don't get messed with. The little man like us does.
Well, and the majority of these regulations are because someone got killed or someone's important child got killed on the water, which led to legislation that ultimately ended up meaning we became an enforcement arm of that regulation.
Yeah, that's a little backwards, though. It should have happened as soon as somebody poor happened, not an important or rich person had it happen.
Oh, no. Oh, God, man. It's the case in Charleston. Morning Dew.
Morning Dew.
That guy didn't have a bunch of money.
He didn't, but they got a lot of publicity in the Coast
They
Guard.
did.
But that was a failure from
The beginning.
Yeah, that was just a failure.
Oh, look, you don't want to get me started on that one because I freely admit the Coast Guard has a lot of culpability in it because the system broke down at a certain point, and we've done a lot of things to address those breakdowns.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that you have to accept responsibility for is you're the one driving the boat.
Oh, yeah.
And the very first lesson somebody taught me a long time ago when I was learning to drive ships was, Joey, if you lost the bubble, stop the ship.
Yeah.
So the dad, the minute that he realized he wasn't where he thought he was,
Should have stopped.
he should have stopped and said, what do I need to do to get back to where I want to be?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that people don't really think about is when you're captaining a vessel, you are responsible for everyone that's on that boat. It's like a Russian roulette kind of concept. You know, I'm driving the boat. I'm responsible for my entire party. So if we're all on a boat right now, I'm responsible for all 3 of your lives. And that's a lot. That in itself is a lot of responsibility that a lot of people don't understand, conceptualize, or even realize. Because things can go sour quick. I think maybe I've told y'all about it. Since I've been here, I've had 2 iffy situations where, if y'all don't know, Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Bourne gets hairy real quick. The wind changes directions, the tides are right, whatever it happens, it goes from a beautiful slick glass day to, oh shit, it is 5-foot seas and I don't know where I'm at or what's going on.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand about the Gulf Coast in general, but especially Louisiana. These bodies of water, Lake P is 24 miles wide. The average depth of Lake Pontchartrain is 16 feet. So it makes 5-footers even worse than 5-footers where you've got distance between the waves because it turns it into a short chop. And I mean, that breaks boats apart because people don't know how to operate in those conditions.
Yep.
Yeah, especially to your point, if you're on a flood tide with the wind out of the west and you're over in Lake Catherine and Lake Bourne, things are going to get real hairy real fast.
My 2 instances is one, I had her and my son at the time. We went out and it wasn't that bad. And it took us, 5 minutes after we pulled out into Lake Bourne for it to get hairy?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was not long. It was not long. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, fuck, we need to get out of here. And it was...
We pulled out of Unknown Pass, got into Lake Bourne, and there was a spot that I knew to the right where I would have been...
We weren't far in Lake Bourne at all.
No.
But it was hairy just getting back from that little track.
Yeah, it was only about a foot whenever we went out and got into Lake Bourne. And we took a right from the spot that I like to go to. And I knew a spot where even if the seas were 2 or 3 feet, I would have been totally okay. But we got out there in 2 to 5 minutes of taking a right or going to port. Excuse me, starboard. Wow. Port and starboard.
Wow.
Oop.
Oop.
Look at that. I've been out long enough, I guess.
At least you caught it yourself.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait a minute. Nope, that's not right.
That's not right.
Went starboard. It went from 1 foot to about 5 in the blink of an eye. Like the winds changed, and like Scott was saying, all it takes is this one thing, and that's average depth. And that's because, there's spots that's going to be 30, and then there's spots that's going to be 5. So when you're talking about average, it just depends on where you're at. And it got hairy real quick. And the boating community should understand this. But if you're not a boating community, you're just listening. Sometimes you have to ride the waves away from your intended target to be able to get safely to where you're going. Mm-hmm. Meaning you do not want beam 2 waves, meaning beam 2 is the side of your boat. You don't want waves crashing to the left or the right side of the port and starboard side of your boat. You want
and that should be common sense for what happens if you're in that situation.
Well, your thought process at that point shouldn't be, I got to get back to my dock. Your thought process should be, where can I get to that I'm going to be safe?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to do, except for, like I was saying, I had to go away from that inlet to be able to safely come back, because how I was traveling, if I'd have been parallel to the beach, if you want to call it that, the swamp, it would have been beam 2. Mm-hmm. So I had to point out towards the middle of the lake to be able to come back into that inlet where I was at. So that was the one time. And the second time was me and a friend of mine, Jason, went fishing down at the
ginger bitch.
So I've been ruined.
Oh,
so I've been ruined with Lake Bourne, because somebody once said
Warren, isn't he?
Yeah. So Lake Bourne kind of looks like male genitalia, because there's 2 balls on Lake Bourne down there, and we went down to the right ball sack, and we were down there fishing.
You say the right, you mean the east or the west?
Well, actually, it's the north. It'd be in the north and the south, because Lake Bourne does like this, and it's north and the south. So it'd be the south ball. We were down at the south ball.
Left nut.
Left nut. Right nut.
Right nut.
Right nut. See,
I
got messed up on port and starboard, man. Fuck y'all.
It depends on the orientation of the dick, whether it's right or left.
Well, then it would be port and starboard would still be appropriate.
Okay, that's fine.
We're going starboard.
South. You say south. South means more to me than anything else.
Starboard nut. And there was a spot down there, and it was just a gorgeous day. and we were tearing them up. And the spot we were at had like maybe eight, nine boats, and we were killing it. And so was everybody else. And it was awesome. And then in the distance, you see the storm start to come, and it's like, all right, it's not that far, or it's far enough away. I don't have to worry about it. And then it got close, and it's like, ooh, that's not that far away. I was like, yo, we need to turn tail and haul ass. I thought we had enough time. We did not. That time that I was talking about me and Tammy and my kid kind of got in that stuff, and when I talk about me, her, and my kid, when we were in the trough of the wave, the crest was above my head in my boat.
Yeah, that's a bad idea in your boat.
Yes.
So that was I was nervous that time. And this time when we were on our way back, it was the same thing.
But this was in his boat.
No, it was in my boat.
Was it? Okay.
And remember, my jack plate broke.
Oh. Well.
My jack plate broke twice.
Yeah.
Actually, the jack plate broke once, but the bolts broke that one time. And I think
jacking it too much.
Maybe not jacking it enough.
It's not on the boat now, so.
No, it is not.
It is
I took
removed.
that piece of shit off.
Yeah.
But it was like the only time that I was so close to looking at Jason and be like, bro, grab a PFD. Because I'm not calling you fuckers to come save me. It's just not happening. Because our thing is we have a system called Missile, and it's basically a catalog of how we do and what we do and all of our timeline entries, stuff like that. We have a joke going between us that is, if we have to come rescue you and you're a coastie, you got to get that missile number tattooed on you. And I was like, I'm not calling you fuckers.
Oh my God.
So the seas were easily 3 foot. The period was 1 second, and I'm skipping from top of wave to top of wave, and I'm just getting hammered, and I was super scared that day. Still got us in, but it was one of those things, point towards the middle of Lake Bourne, and then try to come ride that wave in and find a little inlet, and it was hairy. And you can ask Jason, he'll tell you the same fucking thing. That was...
But it's in it, I mean, at least you understood that. I mean, there's no regulations to stop somebody that's unfamiliar with boating from buying a boat.
Let's have a licensing process.
Some 24-year-old marries a little coon-ass girl from freaking South Louisiana, comes down here, and little girl's got money, and he can go out and buy him a 32-foot Donzi with the two 502 Mercruisers on it and go run himself into the seawall, So, I mean, there's nothing to stop. If you've got the money, nothing stops you from buying a boat. Some states have licensing and boating safety regulations in place, but federally, there's no law that stops you buy whatever. If you can go buy a 200-foot Broward, if you got a couple $1 million,
as long as you're not using it for hire.
As long as you're not using it for hire, and you could go up the Mississippi River and run into a deep draft and sink it right there. Nothing's stopping them.
All right. So besides Louisiana's one of them required. Is Louisiana one of them?
No, it doesn't have a licensing process for boats.
Well,
I think you have to have a boating safety course.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
But I think it's after a certain year.
Florida, you have to have a boating safety course also, and it's
only if you're born after a certain year.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, what do y'all think about, since you brought it up, driver's license, boating license? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think anybody should be allowed to drive a boat that has not gotten a driver's license, for one. Now, while the rules on the road are very much different than the water, there is a common sense factor, and the rules on the water are much more intensive than you have to stop at a 4-way stop. I mean, there is no 4-way stop out there. Also, boats don't stop when you hit the brakes. So it's like,
they got brakes.
Yeah, I mean, people don't understand that. I mean, how many
automatically stop?
I keep hitting that foot pedal. It doesn't work.
The majority, and jet skis, I mean, you can't steer them if you don't keep throttle on.
That's
no
I know
weight.
that's the thing that so many people don't realize. As soon as you take all the gas off of a personal watercraft, it's just going to go where it was. Keep going.
Yeah.
And little Johnny from North Dakota can go out and buy him a Kawasaki jet ski that does 72 miles an hour and never even been on a boat before, and launching it at West End Boat Launch.
Yeah, I know it would be more work on the state or federal, whoever did it, but after Tammy even attested this, we really should have just like you do in a car. You go get in a car, you drive the car, somebody evaluates, all right, you kind of look like you know what you're doing. Not that you really do, you kind of do. That's all they're looking for. Tammy tried to drive the boat one time, you wanted to pull it up on the...
I wanted to pull it up
on the trailer.
No. Yeah.
And we was in Florida, in Overhaul.
Yeah.
So Tammy was like, I want to drive, let me put it on the trailer, because I'd started letting her back the trailer up. She's great at it now.
Yep.
Well, she's out of practice.
I'm
but
out of
sure
practice
she
now.
Could do it.
Yeah.
But she got a wild hair up her ass, and she was like, "Yo, I want to pull up on the trailer." I was like, "All right, cool." And it was there was maybe a foot of clearance on both sides of the trailer once I backed the trailer up. And of course, y'all drove boats before. You know, wind and current has everything to do with it. Freeboard pushing around. Current's going one way, wind's blowing another. And I was like, babe, you need to do this. And the boat almost went under the dock because it's blowing and doing, and it went kind of cattywampus. And I was like, no, just I'm sitting in the lean-to, and she's standing between my legs, and she's trying to do it. And I was like,
she was between
no.
your legs. It's not called roadhead if you're on water.
What's it called?
I don't know.
Waterhead.
Is waterhead? Is that a thing?
Channel head?
Boathead?
That's got a good ring to it.
Channel head.
Channel head's got a good ring to it. Yeah. Channel head. But yeah, it's just the boat went all cattywampus, and I was like, all right, just stop, girl, get the fuck out of the way. And I had to adjust everything. She's like, what the hell? I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, that was too much.
And like I said, people don't understand. Undercurrent has one thing. Freeboard has something to do with it. Wind direction, engine propulsion, all of that comes into play when you're trying to get however big a boat you got into something. And
You have to work up to a situation like that.
yeah,
Even with channel head, you have to work up to it.
Set people up for success by letting them incrementally work up to that point.
Hey, at least I tried it.
no, I'm not.
I'm trying to contribute to the whole boating
No.
experience. At least I got the backing trailer out.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm not shitting on you. I mean, like, you're phenomenal because every time we were up at the boat launch or whatever it was, and, you know, here in Louisiana, it's, you know, one big thing and everybody's trying to get in there. And, you know, the honorary little coon asses, as y'all say, get like, hey, man, hurry the fuck up.
Dude, that
hey,
happens
girl.
in Florida, too. You live there. You
Oh.
know that.
They did that in Florida too.
But when they roll up, start screaming at the truck, and she's got the window down, they look, and they're like, hey, motherfucker. Oh, hey, girl. Yeah, no, girl, go ahead and take all the time you want. It doesn't hurt that she's pretty. And they're like, oh, damn,
I'm
girl,
pretty.
what's up? And of course,
My experience has been that attractive women get away with a lot of things that
oh, yeah.
unattractive women and men don't.
Oh, yeah.
I was proud of myself that one time when there was a horrible storm that came out of nowhere and was just pouring fucking rain, and everyone
like
was
that day
getting
we were
out.
fishing?
Everyone was getting out quick, and you were like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And there were the boat launch that we normally go out of, there's room for maybe 3 boats.
You can fit 3, but it's tight.
It's very tight.
Yeah.
And there was one on each side, and there was a spot in the middle, and I was like, all right, I'm going to thread the needle.
Yep.
And I did.
You nailed it.
I nailed
You
it.
fucking nailed
I
it.
fucking nailed it. And that was probably one of the proudest moments of my life, because
Oh,
I
no,
was like, and the rain was pouring, and it was just like there was pressure, and there was people like lined up ready to get the fuck out of there, and I was like, nailed it
the
in a
trailer
good way, not in a bad way.
Trailer wasn't cattywampus.
No.
Everything, it was just right to where I pull it up and fucking just, a foot of winching, good to go, hauled ass. You fucking killed it that day.
That was
No,
probably one of the
but
proudest
yeah,
moments of my
yeah.
life.
Women get away with that shit more than men do, for sure.
So we're going to talk about a ditch kit or what?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. You got somewhere to go?
No,
You got something to do?
no. I just wasn't really looking forward to talking about disc golf.
You don't have to stay for disc golf. You don't have to stay for the Great Loop.
No.
Have you a nip and you'll be all right. Shut up.
Give him some more of that $500 whiskey.
It wasn't $500. It was $300, and it was my retirement gift to myself.
Okay.
Jeez.
And some channel head.
All right. Since you brought it up, you're being a bitch about it. All right, ditch kit. All right. Since you brought it up, you're on the spot. What's a ditch kit? What do you?
It's funny because as long as I've been doing this, with the Coast Guard and doing search and rescue and everything else, my father passed last year, and I decided to take his 16-foot all well and get it rigged up, live scope, all that kind of stuff, and I've had many conversations with the recreational boating safety specialist over years, Paul Bernard, who just retired, about what goes in a ditch. So here I am asking myself this question: what do I want to put in this ditch kit? And I mean, at this point, it is a 16-foot flat boat. I'm not taking it far offshore. I'm staying close in. I did buy a PLB, an ACR PLB.
There you go.
I did buy some waterproof matches and a handheld VHF radio. And
Hey, Brad, look, he bought a radio.
I did because when y'all are on watch next time, I'm gonna start calling Mayday.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
And so I mean, what is good to put in a ditch kit? I mean, all this. We talked about boardings for the last 30 minutes, but there is no requirement for a ditch kit, and what you put in the ditch kit is not required by law. It's literally to help you in the event you or your loved ones get in trouble on the water. But like I said, I'm only at 3 things right now. I mean, there's a lot of stuff if I haven't put or really wouldn't put, but what is good to put in a ditch kit?
Well, first of all, let's explain what a ditch kit is and why you would need it and why you need to prepare for it.
Well, I was going to say it's comparable to a bug out bag.
Okay.
Exactly.
On
But
a
it's
boat.
going to be different depending upon what you do with your boat.
Person, location, what are your intentions for if you have to have it? Just like I said, we could talk about this for days. Because you can ask 5 people and you're going to get 5 different answers about what should be.
Yeah, the guy with a 50-foot ocean-going catamaran is going to have a completely different ditch kit than the guy with a 25-foot center console.
Or how big is your boat, Scott? 12?
16.
16? Yeah, that's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
Because, 55 foot's going
I
to
can
have
tell you one thing that every single boat should have in their ditch kit.
players.
Some sort of a device to locate them in the event that they need the ditch kit.
AKA EPIRB PLB.
Oh. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead. We're going to add, I guess we're going to loop ditch kit and the next line that I have into that. Because I know everybody can't see. You can hear a little turning here. But what I'm going to read is DSCs, EPIRBs, PLB, Garmin InReach, iPhones with satellite capabilities. That was on its own separate line for the main reason is all 3 of us, not Tammy, have a special place in our heart for those devices. For the love of God, register the goddamn thing. I cannot stress that enough to register the goddamn thing. I'm going to talk here in another few minutes, and you know what I'm going to say again?
Register the goddamn thing.
We have, let's see, Scott, what was you said there was a percentage of some shit that somebody did to see what?
The false alert rate for COSPAS SARSAT, which is what EPIRBs, POBs, ADT, ELT, DT devices work on, was 97.3% last year. And that includes improper activations, improper disposal, improper testing, accidental activation.
But does that count the ones that we don't get resolution on? We just don't know?
That's all of them. That's every alert.
But how do they count the ones that we go out, we search for, we don't find them, we come in, we suspend on?
Because they assume that it was a false alert. If nobody showed up that was dead or missing and you could associate with, eventually we're going to find out that somebody's missing, late down the road.
Okay, so you want to hear a funny statistic?
Sure.
I'm going to up you on that one. Back years ago, when we used to get the alerts for 121.5s and 243s, which the Coast Guard turned off, we don't get those alerts anymore. So if you have one, chunk that thing because we're not going to find out about it. It was 99.8%.
Good Lord.
Good Lord.
99.8% false alert rate.
Wow, that's not even like.
And here's the funny part about it, right? If it happened from 5 minutes to the top of the hour until 5 minutes after the top of the hour, and it never hit again, we didn't search on it because that was the authorized test time.
Well, I was going to say, people don't know about that.
No, they don't. And I mean, it's just like people also don't know that, for PLBs, I mean, EPIRBs are one thing, but PLBs, I think it's 92% of the time we actually get a position off the beacon alert. Unlike with EPIRBs, we're still getting A/B solutions and, uncorroborated information.
Well, because PLBs are a more recent device, and so they all have encoded GPSs in them.
Right. Just like the Gen 2 beacons, which are going to come out hopefully in the next few years, we know they're going to be phenomenal and act like the PLBs because the astronauts are using them. The Angel beacons are Gen 2s, second generations EPIRBs. So we know once we get the Gen 2s on the shelves, we're going to get more specific location information off of an alert.
And to people who do, not to drill down into the weeds or anything, but
Go ahead.
the old technology was satellites would sweep. They would pick up the signal from an EPIRB, whatever kind it was, or an ELT, and using something called Doppler shift with multiple passes of a satellite, you would get a position. How accurate is it, Scott? 5 miles on a good day?
It's like,
it's
like on a good
5
day, 5
kilometers.
miles.
Was it 5 kilometers up to 20 kilometers? Or
Yeah, I
something
think
like
it was. I think it was an metrics, not imperial.
So it wasn't great. It was something to start with. It wasn't great. We would go out hoping to get a signal. You don't always get a signal.
Yep.
Now, with a GPS encoded beacon, 100 yards?
If not better.
If not better.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam only guarantees GPS to be accurate to 100 yards.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, they're phenomenal devices. I mean, just last week we had the case where the beacon activated down off of Vermilion, Louisiana, 50-something miles offshore. And right away, I knew they was looking at the over the washstander's shoulder, one of our young junior officers, and I'm like, this thing has no error in it. So I mean, right off the bat, the second alert came in. It was still in the same area, E-Solution, which is obviously GPS position, and we end up saving 3 people's lives. Every one of those, that position is so key. And then you minute the fixed wing arrived on scene, they saw the vessel sunk with the freeboard, and they could see the life raft in the distance. So I mean, these all the EPIRBs, PLBs, they save lives, but the problem is the owners, the purchasers, the boating public needs to do their part to ensure that we can help them by putting the proper registration. Register it. And
I have a personal story about that.
Update the registration. I mean,
Yeah.
after your second or third marriage, obviously you probably don't want them calling you first wife. So update the registration.
Wow, that's where we went there quick.
Yeah, my personal story on that was my brother-in-law bought a boat, and he's like, Joey, I want to buy this. I need something. I'm like, okay, here's what you need to buy, Chuck. You got a handheld radio? No, I don't. Okay, buy a handheld VHF-FM radio that's DSC encoded.
Yep.
It has a built-in GPS, so when you mash the alert button, it sends your position to the Coast Guard sector, and they know right where you are, so they can come and get you. And that's good up to, as long as VHF range, right out to 25 miles, give or take.
Depends on the antenna, but the average is 25 to 30 miles offshore.
Yeah. And without drilling down into the DSC system too much, it'll go further than that, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, and he said, what do I need to do? I said, you need to go call Boat US. You need to get an MMSI number for yourself, and then I'll come over and we'll help you register it.
Yep.
And so his is completely registered.
Since you brought it up, how do Boat US? I know you brought up Boat US, but if I buy a VHF radio, how do I get an MMSI number?
You can call any, like Boat US. You can call, there's a number of different entities that will issue you an MMSI number and then tell it to the Coast Guard that this person has this MMSI number.
I think you can actually do it online now.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but because Boat US had stopped for a while.
Oh, had they?
Yeah, and so I think because DSC is part of GMDSS, Global Maritime Distress SS signaling something system. We were relying upon third-party organizations to issue those MMSIs, and the MMSI actually tells you information in itself. It has country information, location numbers. Every VHF radio that has an MMSI, it's tied to that radio or AIS device or what may be. But again, like the biggest problem with it, like EPIRBs, is people are not registering it and not properly registering that MMSI once they have it.
Yeah, let me make it simple for people that's listening. It's basically like, and this is on my list too over here, and I brought it up, but it's like if you have an iPhone or an Android, it's like basically sending out your information limited via your iPhone if something happens. Because I know iPhone has that alert satellite alert system thing now. But if you get into a situation, it's like your iPhone says, "Come help my guy my owner. His name is Baby Kangaroo, and here's where he's at." That's basically what that does. That's a simplistic way to say it. So because everybody's technology savvy nowadays, but that's all that it's doing is saying my owner is here, and this is who it is.
Well, in the EPIRBs, it's even better than that because it gives us, if you fill it out properly, the name of the boat, the description of the boat, what color the boat is, what kind of equipment you have on board the boat, and so
What's your first wife?
The one you don't want us to call.
Yeah. So it goes a long way towards us saying, oh, okay, well, this person, and maybe it's a bad thing on my part, I can look at it and go, well, this person didn't put a lot of effort into filling out this form, or they don't have a lot of equipment on board.
Okay, let's see. All right, so with our EPIRB and PLB registrations, all you have to do is, to make this simple, just Google NOAA, NOAA, Coast Guard EPIRB registration, and it will pop right up. You go to because I'm not going to say the whole, spell out the whole website.
I just did mine, and I can tell you, it took me, and I filled it out completely. It took me a total of 15 minutes, and I was really paying attention to each
15
field.
minutes can save you 15% on your car insurance.
Liberty Bibberty.
Wrong one, but yeah.
Oh, it's not all right. Yeah, and so
The DSC is about the same.
It is.
When I did it for Chuck, it's about the same.
yeah, it's just that you can get your information on there, and the EPIRBs.
It's not like doing your taxes.
Oh yeah, it's not. It may look like that when you start, but it's not like that at all. I mean, all you're doing is adding owner information, address, stuff like that.
There's no math.
And
no
yeah,
math.
and you don't
No
you
math.
don't unlike doing your taxes, you don't feel like you got drive fucked by the IRS afterwards.
Exactly. And this is actually to pretty much save your life. So I feel like that's kind of a bonus.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to live.
I mean, what's your life worth?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
really what it boils down to is what
Yeah.
is your life worth?
Right.
What's your loved one's life's worth?
Yeah, there
Even
you go.
better. Yeah.
Well, that's subject to person, isn't it?
Not your,
Well,
You know,
first wife excluded.
oh, so I was gonna say Rome's going to say, oh, first wife negative national debt.
let's just say it's not worth nearly as much as it used to be.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, register the damn thing.
I don't wish harm upon her, but you know.
No, she seems to be a wonderful lady.
All right. So we never finished.
Well,
What
I never
else?
said that.
What else should be in the ditch kit aside from obvious EPIRB, PLB?
Okay, so
DSCs.
since we're going to come back to that, thanks for looping us back in because
We got a little sidetracked.
Now, like I said, we're blending the two in, so it's just two subjects in a blender. If I have a personal ditch kit, which I do, well, I have part of one, I guess.
Part.
I got all my stuff, but food, water, and there are marine rations that you can get too. So you can buy marine rations that are just like MREs, so people will understand what marine rations are.
Or you can buy granola bars. They'll do the exact same thing.
You can, but there's not as much nutrition in those as marine rations kind of
Yeah,
thing.
marine
You
rations
can buy
has like 3,000 calories
Yeah.
each.
Yeah, because I mean they're
How long? I mean, if you're only going 5 miles offshore, you got to hope that you're not going to need, 4 days of rations. We really are bad at our job if it takes us that long to find you.
yeah, but I mean again, we're talking about in a generalization because I mean if you
Well,
wanna-
and
if
that's
you
the
wanna go-
danger in making that kind of a generalization.
No, but I
You're
know,
right.
but I mean, you want to go down the rabbit hole. It's like, oh, well, we'll talk about 100-foot fucking tanker vessels,
Yeah, so that
70-foot
was why I
fucking
said-
commercial fishers. It's just
You
my
also have
ditch.
to take
Scott's
it-
boat and the 55-foot cat are going to have a completely
Hell,
different ditch.
Well,
Scott's
sure,
boat,
but
my
you-
boat's going to be different.
You also have to take into consideration the amount of people that are on board too. So if you have like a marine ration type food, then at least you have enough for everybody who's on board. If it's more than just you and your significant other or friend or whatever, if you have multiple people on board, at least you have enough food for everyone.
Yeah,
Except your
what's-
first wife.
You push her
Minus-
overboard. Is that what it
Minus
is?
the first wife.
Hope you can swim, bitch. And you just nudge her.
She'll be the shake.
Tie the
She'll be
anchor around her.
she'll be the shark
Bye.
bait so that you can get away.
The little dog.
Here,
little dog.
catch this brick, bitch.
Actually,
Wow, we're taking a dark turn. all of a
Something-
sudden.
something
that
just,
escalated quickly.
something just
No, yeah.
occurred to me because of what Scott said with the case the other day and the life raft being away from the boat. This is my thing. It's been my thing for a long time. Don't leave the boat. I don't care if the boat sinks. If it's still afloat, stay with the boat. Here's why.
That's a good point.
Detection.
Finding a coconut floating in the
Detection
water, which is your head,
Yep.
is a whole lot harder to find a capsized 25-foot center console.
Yeah. Because I mean, yeah, if the boat capsizes, the hull's still visible.
Yeah.
And it's got it's
way easier to see.
radar reflection. So we're gonna
Yeah.
pick something off of that and be like, oh shit, we see something versus like, Baby Kangaroo said, your head, which is about the size of a fucking big ass coconut. It's
Well, you should probably know this since you applied for that job, but I'm going to ask Scott. How big is the biggest boat that has mandatory inflation, mandatory buoyancy in it?
I think it's 14 feet. I wanted to say 16, but I think all vessels that are built to have engines on them or have to be built with inherent buoyancy in them, which means basically flotation, whether it's blown into on a flatboat, it'd be underneath the seats or up underneath the bow.
Like the old Boston whalers. That was the thing they pioneered. You
Inherent-
could
Oh,
cut
yeah.
the boat in half and it wouldn't sink.
Yeah, they have to have I forget the exact size, but I believe if the intention is for it to be motorized, inherent flotation has to be built. But they've went further than that. I mean, the majority of these kayaks that you buy has some type of inherent flotation built into them as well.
yeah.
What's easy to do with expandable foam?
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny you bring up kayaks. Did you see the video? I think in the last week where a whale. This guy was on a fucking ocean-going kayak, and a whale come up and snatched his ass.
You know he shit all over himself.
Why was
Oh
he
my
that far
God.
offshore in a kayak?
Well, I mean, they have ocean-going kayaks.
Again, why was he that far offshore in a kayak?
All right, well, that might be a fair point. What did he actually? Did the whale bump him or
no, it
like-
like
What's the guy?
Oh, Moby Dick. No, that's
No, the biblical guy. What the hell, Moby Dick? Dude, what the fuck? They were hunting that motherfucker. Where the fuck did... Are you still going back to the fucking channel head and
Noah?
shit?
No, it's
Jesus
not-
fucking
it's not-
Christ,
it's
man.
not Noah.
Who got ate by the whale?
Oh my God! I have to go back to Bible school.
Oh, yeah, there we go. You go more often than I do, so you need to...
And you're a damn preacher.
I'm just an ordained minister. You want to talk about Jesus Christ and your Savior? Boy,
God, what was the name of the?
You had
biblical-
no idea what you were in for when you agreed to come and do this, did you, Scott?
Oh, yeah, he done fucked up. I warned him. He was like, no, you can use my whole name, title, job. I was like, no, dude, we get kind of rowdy. You don't want to. No, we're going to get plausible deniability. Jonah. There we go. Jonah.
Moby Dick.
AKA Moby Dick.
AKA Moby Dick the channel head. God damn.
Is this got a rating on it, like PG-13 or some shit?
Oh,
This
no,
is-
everybody that listens to our
Everyone knows
podcast
this is explicit.
There's a button,
There's
a little checkbox to say
Yeah.
explicit. So
Well, at least we
it's-
haven't talked about gaping yet.
Okay, we're not going there. That'll be for another day.
yeah.
That's on another episode.
Maybe Scott shouldn't be here for that one. I don't know. Jesus Christ. Fuck.
This is what happens when we have guest speakers.
Yeah, no.
Shit goes off the rails
We may
quick.
not have another one ever again. Oh my God. All right.
You can take the boy out of the bosun, maybe. You can't take the bosun mate out of the
Yeah,
boy.
apparently not. Jesus Christ. All right, so everybody's ditch bag is going to be different. I think that's where we kind of left off. It's going to be different between a 12, 16, 20 foot. Obviously, bigger boats. Actually, the bigger boats will have boats the size of ours.
That are the ditch kits.
So, I mean,
They're
you know, baby,
dingy.
yeah, baby kangaroo's seen them in South
Like
Florida.
the
since
owner of the Eagles or whatever that was in New Orleans. I wonder what he's got in his ditch kit. That moored that yacht up downtown New Orleans.
oh, was that black and white one?
Yeah, it
Oh,
was like a
dude.
420
Dude,
foot
that was
yacht.
That was fucking stupid.
I bet he has no idea what a ditch kit is. He's
Yeah,
like,
I'm
I
sure he
just get
doesn't.
on this and
No.
they take me where I need to go.
He's
He
probably
has
only that
nothing
thing
to
like
do with
half a
it.
dozen times a year.
No, he does know what it is. It's called the 50-foot boat that's, hitched to the
Yeah,
starboard
you talking
side.
about the 47 Hatteras dinghy he has? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
I mean,
whole
some
other
of them
boat.
that I've seen in South Florida, I've seen yachts with quote unquote dinghies that are so big they can't lift them on board the boat. They have to tow them behind
Well,
them.
they make
Jesus
that
Christ.
isn't it Broward that's made in South Florida? The Broward yachts. It's like, I mean, the owner of the Saints, Tom Benson, had one. It was the Miss Luann, first or second wife that he named it after, Princess Luann or something. I think it was 180 feet long. It had a 21-foot center console as the dinghy.
Yeah.
Good Lord. That's bigger than mine.
Mine too.
Jesus Christ.
Size don't matter.
Hey, all it takes is money
All
and
it
a
takes-
whole lot of it.
Well, money makes things better, I guess.
Yeah,
Sometimes, anyway.
That yacht costs more than all of our houses put together.
Oh,
and our
by a
sal-
factor of like 10.
And our salaries and everything we've ever made or are going to make. All right, we can just go on. All right, so I'm gonna come back to the list. The iPhones, since we've had those recently at the district level, what are your thoughts? And hopefully, I mean, you know what? I took credit for the game that we always talk about, Diablo. Diablo finally moved the altars and bosses that you run that used to be, you would do the materials in the
gem
altar,
spot.
and the boss would spawn right on it. And you would kill it one time and it would never move. They finally moved all of that shit to where it's off that same spot because they always get one-shotted. So I took credit for that. And I hope somebody from Apple is listening because I'm going to take credit for making them correct this shit because it fucking pisses me off. But what are your thoughts on the iPhones with their new satellite communication crash things that we've barely touched on in the district level? Because we've had, I've had it's the crash device. So if you
Don't rely on only that.
no, I'm not saying definitely don't rely on that. But it's the iPhones now have, if you get into a crash, it sends a signal saying, "Oh shit, I'm in a crash." And we've had them in the
It
district
has a
level.
G sensor built into it.
Yeah, but we've had it with helicopters landing on oil platforms
Yep.
where they go off, and it sends it to the Apple command center, if you want to call it that kind of thing, and they do not have down what they should be doing, because they call in and they're like, hey, we've detected an iPhone crash. It's in the water. It's 50 miles offshore. And we're like, cool. Who is it? What's going on? Do you have any information? Like, we can't divulge that information. We just know that something's right here. So do you have an opinion on that, being the SAR specialist?
We saw it coming. When
but
CG SAR told us 3 years ago that Apple was standing up a SAR capable alerting network through satellites. You know, and I mean, it was a different regime than at CG SAR they are now. They went and visited the Apple Command Center. It sounded like they were like, okay, there's key
did
pieces.
they?
Oh yeah, they did.
Wow.
I want
All
to.
right.
I forget where they said it was. I'm not even going to try to make it up. But they were supposed to be good at taking the key pieces of information needed in order to respond. You know, we call it the Big Five. Really, you only need one. But
I'm going to cut you off. Tell me what the Big Five is.
Location. So, do you have PFDs and how many? Location, description of vessel, and gosh, I'm gonna screw these. See, when I joined, it was just location, description of life jackets, location, and description of vessel. The big three, and then we became the Big Five.
Yeah.
Which added two more to it. And honestly, I only need one piece of information
That's
to prosecute
Where?
a SAR case. Is where.
Yeah.
Latin long, geographic location. That's all I need. The other stuff is just
Nice to have.
Is cake,
Yeah.
on top of the pudding.
Icing on top of the cake.
Yeah.
Icing on top of the cake.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we touched on that. So, let's see what we got: location, description of vessel, how many people on board, PFDs, and what am I
I
missing?
don't remember what the fifth
I
one
don't
is.
know. It's because it's all on a QRC. I don't commit shit to memory no more now that I'm 50. But I mean,
100 years here. We can't remember 5 fucking things.
well,
I don't
it's
remember
just-
what the Big Ten are. I have to look them up.
We
Oh,
had
the
to
10
create.
factor?
We had to create the 10 factor for common sense reasons, which
yeah.
we never had that either back in the 90s.
That's because people had common sense then.
Wait,
know.
wait, you didn't have the 10 factor? Wasn't a
Oh
thing?
hell no! It was not. There was no 10 factor. That came into play sometime in the early 2000s.
Yeah, because I can tell you when I first started SAR in 2003, there was no quote unquote official 10 factor. That was something that happened after 2003. It was something that a lot of places were using, but it wasn't formalized.
Yeah.
And so at some point, the Coast Guard formalized that.
Okay, let me loop this back so we can get back to our original subject. I'm going to touch on so the 10 factor is what the Coast Guard uses to find out if you're actually in distress, and it has a lot of things to do with what we've talked about. There's a difference between my engine broke down, I'm anchored in 10 foot of water, I got food, drink, stuff like that, and the weather,
burning babies in the surf.
yeah, and the weather is great, and the anchor's not dragging and stuff like that. That's how we determine, okay, you're not in distress.
You being uncomfortable is not distress.
Yeah, you're just, you need commercial salvage because we care about you, not your boat. Anybody who wants to fucking listen to that, listen again. We care about you, not your boat. So if you're broke down, call commercial salvage. There's plenty of them out there. So I'm going to loop back in.
And get a contract.
Yeah, because it's a what,
$130 a year or something now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it and they tell you in, you're looking at $1,700.
Yes.
Oh yeah, easily, and that's inshore.
You have insurance for your car. Why wouldn't you have insurance for your boat?
Yeah. Okay. So there's that on that. That's where the 10 factor came from. Let's go back to the iPhone thing. So we had somebody actually go visit the center, and they were supposed to be able to communicate better with the Coast Guard. Scott, stop playing your phone.
Oh, say that
Pay
again.
attention. Now look, squirrel.
Butterfly.
Butterfly, squirrel.
Pretty.
Yeah, we came back to the iPhone. We were talking about the iPhone thing. So we went to the.
Speaking of which,
It was called. Oh, is that the work phone?
It's my son and Gitmo.
Oh, we can hit pause.
oh,
Quick pause. All right, back from pause. Sorry, real life came into play, so we're going to try to pick up where we left off. I think the last thing we were talking about was fucking iPhone bullshit. I think Scott had mentioned that some of our people actually went to the center and was able to talk to him about it. It's a good concept. I hope Apple, if y'all are listening, like I said, I took credit for the Diablo thing. I'm going to take credit for this if Apple's listening. Fix it to where your people actually tell us what it is. We need to know who owns the phone. Don't just say this position is a distress, because I've had a distress go off. I finally figured out what the number was. I called the guy. And he's like, "No, I just landed on the helicopter, and it's a rough landing, but everybody's fine. I don't understand why it went off. It never hit the floor, nothing. So, Apple, if you're listening, fix your shit. Let your people talk to us. We're not like we're trying to.
Yeah, my question is, do they even contact the person before they contact us and say, are you okay?
Actually, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. You know, the answer that I feel like is probably no.
I mean, at least
But-
Garmin, if the device that someone has two-way communication,
Garmin InReach?
Garmin InReach.
Yeah.
Well, and it all boils down to, I know we're talking about iPhones, but it all boils down to third-party distress alerting devices. You know, if you really want to get help, just get a damn EPIRB or get a PLB. It comes straight to us. I
Or a
don't have to
DSC.
or a DSC. I don't have to wait on another organization that you are paying monthly, most likely, or yearly, to call the Coast Guard when you pay one fee for an EPIRB, PLB, and it immediately lets us know.
Here's your contact information. If you registered it
If
right.
you register it right, register it.
Did-
Also, register it.
Didn't we
you
say,
know.
yeah, we were talking about that earlier, right? Fucking register the goddamn thing.
Register it.
Register the goddamn thing.
if there's only one thing you take away from this,
Is what?
register it.
And update it after your third marriage.
Even better. Jesus Christ. Oh, and wait a minute. One more thing. Register the goddamn thing.
And if you sell it, change the registration.
Yeah. Give the new owner. It's not like it's.
Oh, you mean Joe Bob sold it to Thibodeau, but Boudreaux didn't keep the boat and gave it to his cousin's uncle's sister, and we don't know who has it now.
Yeah. Because, there's not like it's not like your social security number or anything is in there. It's stuff that's easily obtainable by, I'm just going to Google.
Address, cell phone.
Google your name.
Yeah,
What do I
address,
get?
cell phone.
There
You
we
know,
go.
back in the day, a phone book.
Yeah, yes, back in I got a good story about phone book.
Oh, my nephew. Wait, there was a book that had everybody's phone number in it.
we had
Sure did. Phone number and address.
we had fun with that last podcast about describing what a cassette tape was.
Yeah.
and a CD was, which people don't know about now.
I know.
Cassette. What is that? Like some type of like
A little plastic device with a weird brown tape on it that
Oh, it's kind of like a diaphragm.
is diaphragms brown.
I don't know. I guess it depends on her.
Did you go ass to mouth?
It depends on what hole it's in.
I think we got sidetracked. Maybe we should
Do you
come back.
think?
And the,
No. The Mississippi's brown.
Last time I checked, that's why they call it the Big Muddy.
Yeah, it shouldn't be brown, but All right, so there it is. All right, so all your listeners, hopefully, maybe you've taken something away with this. I guess my key points would be check weather, check weather, check weather, check your boat, check your float plan.
Yeah, I mean,
get an EPIRB, PLB,
going back to-
register it.
boating safety, the preparation prior to is just as important the preparation for the boat you took when you bought it, for the safety equipment. Know what you're getting yourself into. Know if there's a frontal boundary coming and it's freaking October, November, and like, oh, I'm gonna make a trip to Cat Island on my 16-foot flatboat, you know, and then a northern blows through and you got 30-knot winds, gale conditions, and guess what?
Yeah. How
'cause
far is Cat Island off of Mississippi?
7 miles. And I mean, because the majority of boats, when they become disabled, will turn bow down swell. Most of them do not have a lot of freeboard on the stern.
Yep.
So the first thing that happens is the water starts breaking over the stern.
Yep.
And it capsizes.
Yep. We've seen.
Seacorp Power didn't have a lot of freeboard on the stern.
They had I'm not even.
How about the Coast Guard's new icebreaker and the freeboard on the stern?
I like the helicopter pad on the front.
You think? That's the smoothest riding part of a ship is the bow.
I love
No,
a
it's
smooth
not.
ride. I love a
It's
smooth
not?
ride.
The stern is the smoothest riding part of a ship.
Okay, you need to learn to listen to sarcasm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You
Jesus.
need to be more dripping.
I
Your
love
sarcasm needs to be
fucking-
more dripping.
You don't
Fucking
like.
cr-
I love a smooth ride on the front.
That's the best part of the boat to be on.
I think that's a different kind of ride. We're trying to be.
That's not the kind of ride we're talking about.
Are we talking about? This is PG-13, right? Are we talking?
No.
Jeez. Went from boating safety to. Damn, this is perverted. God damn. Ignore the perversions on this fucking thing. You know you listen to have fun, and we apparently are, but we're also trying to teach you about some safety shit too. Not the same kind of ride.
There's
bro.
that.
Not the same kind of ride, bro. Yeah, that fucking new icebreaker.
I haven't even seen a photo of it yet.
Look it up.
Jeez,
It's all over Google.
It's sad.
Is it?
It's
the
Googleable.
stores. Coast Guard
Googleable.
Cutter stores. The new Coast Guard cutter stores.
You know, we keep fucking just recycling names.
Yeah, why not? I mean, just like Hollywood, we're not any more creative than
Well,
we
you're
were.
right about that. Hollywood's not creative at all anymore.
Oh, we're way more creative than Hollywood.
Oh yeah, that's like
Again, I'm going back to my original thing when I said we're making lemonade out of lemons. We're way more creative because we have to be. We have no choice.
yeah, because that's all we now. Yeah.
The story for another day,
Yes.
for another podcast. We'll have shit talk.
Oh, Stores was made into the fleet for a while. The
Yeah.
original.
It's a big old offshore supply boat. Looks cool as shit. Might go back and get your anchors back.
You want to re-enlist? You want to go back? Active duty?
You get a $10,000 bonus.
You think they'd let him in after he's been out for so long?
It's likely not.
I don't know. I mean, we're Coast Guard's desperate for Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well,
anything.
the way we support our junior people, there's no surprise.
Oh, I got some junior people who want to be on the podcast.
It looks like a Norwegian tug.
It's ugly as shit, right?
Why is it orange?
Is that what your ex-wife told you? Why is it orange?
That was-
It looks like a North. It does. It looks like a North Sea tug. That's what I.
He went
I
through
wonder
that
if it
messed
was.
up full body spray tan. Why is it orange?
Is it orange?
Formerly motor vessel Avik.
Avik.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody made a lot of money.
Yeah, somebody did.
Schwest. I think it was Schwest or Hornbeck. One of them had affiliation with it.
Yeah, it does not look like a good icebreaker. Especially, yeah, like he was joking about the helipad on the bow. Really? And freeboard in the back that's,
Imagine landing a helicopter in 20-foot seas on the bow.
you know, I'm less concerned of that, of like,
Pull up! Pull out! Pull out!
Do we have that
Yeah,
experienced helicopter pilots here?
no, the
They-
H.
It's gonna be bouncing up and down. He's like, "I'll get it on the way up and and land on the way down."
Yeah, but it probably has a talent system on it.
You know how often the HCO is going to be like, wave off, and just like, you're never going to land. The HCO is never going to fucking be, it's never going to happen. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's probably going to be a first class on the fucking boat, being like, wave off, just never happening.
Oh yeah, it was
Yep.
an ice breaking and anchor handling tug.
Yeah, but you ought
360 feet.
to look up the statistics though on the engines aren't quite made for frigid temperatures. So you have engines that propel the vessel that are not made for frigid temperatures, supposed to move that boat.
Did this surprises you because?
It's 2025. I expect a little better. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
you're
And
holding
again-
out hope for bad reasons.
But again, you look at the construction of the boat. You saw a picture of it.
yeah,
So you imagine, like, what does an icebreaker do? Drives up on the ice and the point of the boat, and it uses the weight to press it down. So what happens when the bow goes up? Stern goes down. There's, like you said, there's not a lot of freeboard on that.
I don't think it's
Yeah,
not going to
right.
rise that much.
It's not gonna. Still though, when you don't have a lot of freeboard in the back, party in the front. I mean,
Business in the back.
I don't know. I just don't feel like it's right. Okay, we've talked enough. We've talked enough shit about fucking boating safety, ditch kits, all that good stuff. Hopefully,
Get something.
get something. Yeah. Hopefully, this worked for, even if it's one person. I don't even care. I want one. If I taught one person, or we've taught one person anything, or giving you something to think about, I'm totally okay with that.
Help
'Cause-
us to help you.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're your own first line of defense.
and you are your own worst enemy
Mm-hmm.
if you don't do anything. So we're gonna move on to our next topic, which is the Great Loop.
Great circle jerk. I mean, great.
I think this is going to be more Baby Kangaroo's show because he is the one who
I want to do it.
he wants to do it.
Yeah,
The Great Loop.
it's
Not
okay.
anything
For
else.
those of
Explain
y'all,
yourself.
so those of you who aren't familiar with the Great Loop,
Yeah,
it's,
tell us what the Great Loop is.
It's basically a circumnavigation of the eastern third of the United States, following the Intracoastal Waterway.
Okay, go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead. No coastal waterway.
Okay.
Sorry, wait. How about this? Explain it from where do you intend to start from?
Probably somewhere around here in Louisiana.
All
Yeah,
right, so we're thinking New Orleans somewhere.
yeah, something like that.
Harvey
Okay.
Canal.
Harvey Canal. Yeah,
All right,
and
there
that
we go.
mile
Okay.
zero.
So Harvey Canal, you can look it up. You can look up New Orleans. Mississippi River runs right through it.
Yep.
Harvey Canal, all that good stuff. So you're going to start from New Orleans waterways, and what's going to be tell us what give us a description of what it's going to happen.
The plan for me after I find the boat and I retire, because it takes on a boat that I want, it'll probably take 6 months to a year to do it, depending upon how fast you want to go.
What kind of boat are you looking for?
Something in the 40-foot range.
Okay.
Sea Ray, probably a Sundancer or a Sedan Bridge.
Okay. How many people can be on that boat? How many people, Scott, did you have? How many people have you had on your boat before? You said you got 16 foot?
Yeah. Two people typically, but three gets uncomfortable.
I got 20 foot, and the most I've had was 7, and it's built for a capacity of 8.
Yeah, they're smoking crack.
Well, I mean, there may or may not have been drinking involved.
We don't condone that. That's not part of
don't
boating
condone
safety.
Yeah, don't condone boating while intoxicated. But you're talking about a 39, 40 foot. How many people do you plan on having on your boat? Hopefully I'm going to be there at some point.
Yeah, during your great circle jerk, how many?
It sleeps 4 comfortably.
Sleeps 4.
It sleeps 4 comfortably.
Is
two
that
couples?
Okay,
Yeah.
2 couples.
Yeah, cabin up front and the cabin in the stern.
Okay.
That's not really in the stern, but it's back further aft.
But I mean, again, we're talking about a bigger boat, so we're not talking about like a center console with 4 people. We're talking about 4 people with showers, heads.
Yes. Yeah.
Means
you can live on it.
There'd probably be one head on it, though, realistically.
Well, so it's interesting that you asked that question or make that statement, Scott, because I was looking at Channel Head. There you go. I looked at a bunch of different boats, and one of the reasons why I'm kind of targeting in on a Sea Ray 390 Sundancer is because it only has 1 head on it. And if you go a little bit bigger than that, they put 2 heads on it. And I'm like, for those of you who don't know the vernacular, a head is a bathroom on a boat.
And some of them have, let's see, what was one of the ones I think you showed me is basically the toilet and the shower is the same thing.
It's a wet head, yes.
Wet head.
Yeah.
Wet
so it's
channel
all the whole head is designed so that you can get wet. The whole thing will get wet. The one that I'm looking
I bet it will.
Wow. So the one that I'm looking at only has 1 head, but it's not a wet head. The shower and the rest of the head are 2 separate compartments.
Okay. Just checking.
And the reason why I just don't, first of all, it's going to be primarily me on the boat by myself.
Sure.
So I'm like, well, why are you going to take up space for another head that's never going to get used?
Yeah.
All I'm going to do is end up shoving crap into it. And then when people come and visit,
Isn't that what you do with a head? Shove crap into it?
Okay, your point is very valid.
Even
Yes, sir. So
Scott's just devolved. This has gotten
Yeah, I
worse
know.
quick. Jesus.
he did. He found
Yeah.
the path of least resistance, and he went right the fuck down it.
Which works with this podcast.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Slip right in there, huh?
And
anyway.
we're keep going.
Back to the point.
Anyway.
You follow the Intracoastal Waterway is,
Okay.
and if you don't know what the Intracoastal Waterway is, you can look it up. But I'm going to follow it like all the way east until you get into Florida, and then it's going to, when you get over to the armpit, there is no actual Intracoastal Waterway that follows the armpit around. You have to jump from, I can't remember what the name of the city is, but
Like
it's
Carabel?
It's northeast of Carabel, I think. And then you jump over to like Sand Key in Florida. And then the Intracoastal Waterway actually starts again. Then you can take it. You got a couple of choices what you want to do at that point. You can either go down to Fort Myers and jump across through Lake Okeechobee and then come out on the other side at,
I've heard that's a beautiful trip through Okeechobee.
oh, it's gorgeous. I've been at,
Is that how you're intending to go? Or are you going to?
I might do it more than one time so that I can take multiple routes.
Okay.
I've heard going through the ditch through Okeechobee, there's actually rocks. I had a friend of mine that did it, David Malley, and he actually bent his prop on a rock that was in the ICW.
Oh, I can believe that easily. When I was on Hudson, I mean, we were the largest user of our waterway. I can remember going from, I can't remember what the name of the port is on the eastern side that you pull into, but we would be in the canal, and it's just somebody, you can tell they came in and they said, okay, here, pull a string real tight, now dig a really big ditch all the way to Lake Okeechobee, which is essentially what they did. And that's how it is on both sides until you get to the coast, and then they attach it to a river, a natural waterway.
Yeah.
The other choice is you have two other choices on how you can do it. You can go down and go through Florida Bay and follow a canal or channel that goes to like around Marathon area, Vaca Key.
Yep.
Or you can go all the way down to Key West and then come back up.
Key West.
Key West, yeah.
Oh boy.
And then come back up, and then you jump back inside the Intercoastal Waterway once you get up around Key Largo.
Key West is dangerous.
Yeah. I've been there so many times. I'm not sure I would go back down there again.
But it's dangerous.
It's not nearly as dangerous as it used to be.
No, I mean, it's dangerous from having too much fun.
Yeah, that's my point. It's not nearly like it used to be. It used to be,
What's the fucking the fest they have down there?
Fantasy Fest.
Fantasy Fest. There it is.
That's if you're not prepared for a lot of
Gay sex.
and nudity, don't go. That's all I'm going to say.
I was never there during Fantasy Fest, but I was there afterwards.
They got some real freaky people down there
Yeah.
for Fantasy
Yeah.
Fest.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
So,
Plenty of people got put out for,
Did they?
There's a lot of putting out.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. That's not
In
what
more ways than one.
That's not what I was referencing, but all right, Jesus Christ.
but that doesn't make him wrong.
I didn't say it made him wrong. Jesus Christ.
So then you follow the Intercoastal Waterway all the way up until you get to like the Chesapeake Bay, and then you have to jump out from there and then go up to
Wait, Chesapeake Bay's where?
Virginia.
There we go.
Yeah,
Vegas, where they know.
and they can Google all of this.
I don't know, but
And then you jump out and you got to go up to Hudson Bay, which is New York City. And then you jump into the Hudson River and you go all the way up to Albany. And then you pick up, I want to say it's the Hudson Canal, Barge Canal or something like that. And it'll eventually take you into the Great Lakes. And at that point, you can make a bunch of choices on like whether you want to go up into Canada or stay inside the U.S. Either way, you end up going through Chicago to get back onto U.S. waterways, specifically the Mississippi River.
You could also go down Tom Bigby, correct?
That's further south, though.
Oh, it's further south.
Yeah,
Okay.
you still got to pick up the Mississippi River, and you take it south until you get to down around St. Louis, and then that's where you pick up the Tennessee River.
yep.
Or some tributary of it. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but you pick up the Tennessee River, and then that's where you go into eventually you connect to the Tom Bigby. It takes you all the way down to Mobile Bay, and that will complete your great loop where you pick up the Intercoastal Waterway again down in Mobile Bay.
And you said what? You're planning on
6,500 miles, give or take.
and you're planning on what? You said 6 months to a year?
So tentatively right now,
Obviously, you can do it quicker.
you can.
I
I,
mean,
think the fastest
yeah.
I saw somebody did it was like 3 months, but they were in a really small boat and they weren't worried about like taking their time.
Yeah.
They just wanted to try and do it as fast as possible. Why? I don't really understand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's just like anything else. You can drive across country. You can do it in a week from say from New York to somewhere in California. You can do it. What is it? 5 or 6 days.
Faster than that, even if you want.
Yeah, but I mean, you can also take
A month.
months.
Yeah.
Months. It just depends on what you want to see and stuff. So
So the typical plan for people is they spend winter in the southern states.
there we go.
And then they wind up in the northern states and Canada in the height of summer
For obvious reasons.
for obvious reasons. Plus, the weather's fantastic up there during that time of year. So and then there have been people I've read about who have they've been so slow on it, they weren't worried about it. They would winter their boat over somewhere up north.
Just to hang out
And then
because I mean that's something that's easy to do. Start off, down south in winter or whatever it was, and then maybe make it up. And it's like I want to spend 3 weeks in New York or 2 weeks in Chicago and see touristy things that I want to see. So I mean, like there's all kinds of options. But I mean, your first go round is going to be you want to be up north when it's warm.
correct.
Yeah, because you were stationed in New York before. So
I was, and I'm not a big fan of cold weather.
yeah, you know what? Yeah, and it gets bad up there. Because I mean, the Coast Guard boats, you got deckies out there, literally with sledgehammers breaking ice off of the rails and everything.
Last winter I was in New York, we were taking the small boat around and breaking ice off of buoys because the buoys were all leaning over. Yeah,
that was the job of the day. That doesn't sound like fun.
You know, it wasn't as bad as you might think.
But it sounds like as much fun as what do they call it, shooting the tube? Shooting the tube when you're
go up and make sure that a whistle buoy is clear.
yeah. Really, Scott? Seriously, bro?
Well, shooting the tube, you know.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That's how it got me in trouble.
You haven't even been drinking. Like Jesus, you had a beer and you're already going there.
Well, you keep feeding me little tastes of expensive bourbon and vodka and shit. So one beer plus whatever
And
else
tequila.
Freaking Brad's throwing my way.
What? Great, it's my fault. You know what?
It's always your fault.
I take responsibility for it. Fuck it, it's my fault.
So that's just it in a nutshell. You know, if you have questions about it, you can Google it.
It's Googleable.
It is Googleable. There's a lot of information, and it's
There's did you say there's a website or?
Oh God, there's a gazillion websites.
Hey,
there is an organization that you register with when you're going to do the Great Loop, and I don't know, you got to send them $40 or $50 or something, and they send you a little pennant to fly so that everybody knows that you're on the Great Loop.
Don't you need a boat bitch in your ditch kit for this?
Yeah, something like that. Still looking for that.
Are you gonna have a ditch kit for your 39, 40-foot boat?
Of some kind, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not rich, by the way. We've just y'all correct me wrong, since we're all military. I think it treated us very well to where if you are unsure of what you want to do in life and you do the military correctly, you can save up, have a retirement, and have investments to be able to do something like this.
Yeah, and Joey's been selling semen for the last 20 years, despite the fact he had a vasectomy, to finance this.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Jesus Christ.
And plasma.
God damn.
I got it coming out of both ends.
Boy, it's de-evolved. We're going to have to do happy hour so we can end this for the people who actually paid attention for the real topics. God.
Look, I'm looking at buying a used boat.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it's like, I just want to make sure people understand, like, we're not rich fuckers by no means.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, when you dedicate 20 plus years of your life to an organization, you should have something on the backside of it. And we all calculated properly in our lives to where we are able to afford something on this backside. So military is great. Don't let anybody get discouraged about joining the military. It is patriotic. The military in any capacity is a great organization. Honestly, the Coast Guard and the Air Force, the Air Force are probably the better options. But
Space Force, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Space Force. If you do it right, you can set it up and you can be good on the backside of life, which I think all of us are in the backside of life now. The backside of life is way more.
I know that I have fewer days ahead of me than I have behind me.
There you go. The backside of life is honestly better than the front side. And of course, when I was younger, I would vehemently argue that's bullshit.
Youth is wasted on the young.
It is. Very much so. All right. So, yeah, we're not rich. Rome's not fucking rich. We're just.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. We just did it right. So it's
lucky by design.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and military is a great thing, especially the Coast Guard. We're needing for people, so I really suggest you go talk to a recruiter.
Hey, look, you want to know what's maybe the single best thing that I got out of my Coast Guard retirement?
Tell us.
Healthcare.
Oh, geez, how much do you pay in healthcare right now? You know what? Here's an example. My buddy who is in the oil industry. He works in Texas, and he pays between $1,200 and $1,400 a month.
Holy shit!
For him,
yeah, that's
his
not
wife,
that normal.
Nope, him, his wife, and 2 kids. How much do you pay a year for health insurance?
And
again, you're a civilian employee, so I think
dental, but I don't use any of my civilian.
No, but dental and vision is not part of that. But health care itself. How much do you pay a year in healthcare?
So my plan's different from your plan because you use Prime, right?
Correct.
Okay. I don't use Prime. I use Standard. I like the flexibility of being able to go to who I want to go to and not have to get referrals to docs. Yes. So I have a $150 deductible. Like in Scott's case, yours is $300 for the year, but that's for both you and your wife.
Right. And I don't typically use it unless it's like a specialist or something because my wife, I don't want my wife to have to go to the vagina doctor and go to the Navy and tell them what wrong with her. I'd rather her be able to choose who she wants looking at her cooch, But I typically use the VA, but it's the same plan as Joey is. I mean, it's like my deductible is $150. I forget what comes out of my retirement check, but I actually chose the vision and the dental through my civilian side.
That's the same as Brad now.
Yeah. But I mean, you're paying, we're $700 a year for health care.
Yeah, $700 with the copays. I may spend $1,000
with the vision with the vision and yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, health care, $700 with some deductibles, still not as much as $1,400 a month for a husband and wife and 2 kids. It's ridiculous.
I think our copay, Scott, it's like $27 or $29 a doctor visit now, right?
That's typically about what I pay. Somewhere between $25 and $35 if I go to urgent care or something.
So when I first retired in 2008, first of all, there was no deductible.
Now we're showing rage.
Yeah, I know. I'm an old fart. There was no deductible.
Don't fart.
And what do you think my copay was?
In what year?
In 2008.
$15.
$2.
Jesus Christ.
Damn.
It's 1, 2?
1, 2.
Like this finger and this finger?
Correct.
Okay, 2. Just making sure.
To the point where the hospitals that I used when I was living in Baton Rouge, they were like, we're just going to waive it.
What the fuck were you doing in Baton Rouge?
That's where I grew up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you want to hear about the Great Flood?
Yeah.
He loves talking about that. He's talking about the Great Flood on every episode we've done.
Talking about with Noah? With Noah?
No.
The Baton Rouge Great Flood.
Yeah, 2016.
16. Yeah, I remember. Coast Guard did some great things that day.
Did we?
Mm-hmm. We did.
What we did?
We sent 60s to pick people off the tops of houses.
Kelly Denning was the SMC, previous response department head of Sector New Orleans, future sector commander. It was, I forget how many people she said was saved, but we were actually using aircraft similar to Katrina to pluck people off the roofs.
Yeah. Same way as for Katrina.
It was something like 390 phone calls in 10 minutes to the sector command center because 911 shut down.
911 shut down.
911 went down with the flood. So, I mean, everything was diverted to Sector New Orleans' command center.
Good Lord.
That makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely.
We're not a 911 call center. We don't have their capabilities.
No, but I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier in this episode. You know, it's like how we've been making lemonade out of lemons because we've been fucked from the get-go. Underfunded, understaffed.
Okay.
Under everything. But I mean, we're doing such a good job with what we have. It's just a testament to how well the Coast Guard, regardless of what people think about it, we're doing it.
I'm going to give you a perfect story of a smart person who does something monumentally stupid.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Do I need to beep this out?
So, no. At the time I was living in South Florida, I was geo-bacheloring it. My ex lived at our house in Baton Rouge with her mother. When that flood started, they had the bright idea to go up into the attic.
Into it.
Into the attic. Correct. In August in Louisiana.
So water rising outside, coming inside of the house, and your idea is to go inside of the attic where you don't have a door or an escape route.
The house that we owned it had flooded prior to that 6 or 7 times. I can't remember. And they thought, it's just going to be like one of the other ones. It's going to come up 2, 3, 4 feet, and then it's going to go back down. So we'll be able to just go out.
Which is kind of normal for a lot of places.
Yes, for there, that was pretty normal.
Yeah.
Well, unprecedented rain. So my ex-wife and her mother, and fortunately for them, a young man that we had do work for us around the house went up into the attic. They brought some water and whatnot with them.
Sure.
And then the house got 8+ feet of water in it. They couldn't get out.
Again, unprecedented.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this kid was smart enough that they had put like all the chainsaws and everything in the attic in the garage. So he crawled all the way through the attic to get to the garage, to get a chainsaw, to drag it back, to cut a hole in the roof so that they could get out.
Jeez.
So my wife at the time, educated woman, trauma nurse, thought it'd be a good idea to go up into the attic. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it.
That's the, I don't know, that's the whole panic thing with the boating safety shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole thing keeps resonating in different aspects of life. It's
just proof that smart people can do dumb things.
absolutely,
Which
which is why you try to always be prepared for. I mean, you should be prepared for everything because even when you're prepared, shit's still going to go wrong.
well, yeah. But
And
if you're prepared,
and nothing goes wrong, that's even better.
Well, that's still a rarity. Preparedness doesn't mean perfected.
No.
It just means preparedness, and hopefully it's not completely fucked.
oh yeah,
Again-
they could have
again-
easily died.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If that kid hadn't been with him,
Look, if it fucks, floats, or flies, you better have a contingency plan.
Better than most, especially
Yeah.
the fucked part. That's a story for
fortunately,
another
they
day.
made it out. And then I built her a new house, and then she kicked me to the curb.
There we go. Now we're back to Jesus Christ. It de-evolved again quick.
Your loss, her gain. Or no, your gain, her loss.
Well, that's a whole topic. We could make a whole podcast about that.
Maybe we will one day. Do you think that if we had a whole podcast just to let you vent,
It still wouldn't help.
you don't think so?
Nope.
If I give you devil's advocate and I was supposedly in her corner, just fucking with you, do you think you would have resolution?
Dude, it's
Because you don't have. We talked about it last time. You don't have closure.
closure. There is no closure is not possible.
Hey, mine did me a favor. I ended up with the most phenomenal woman on the planet.
Well, good for you. I'll never do it again.
I said that too, and God laughed at me.
Okay.
Well,
I'm pretty sure you're going to tell her that you were on here, so she's going to listen.
She doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
No,
You-
I
you
told
did-
her we were playing Pong.
boop 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 boop.
It's Amy, right?
Amy?
Yeah, Amy.
Yeah, similar
Amy,
to Amy.
you can do better. Leave him.
I could have said
I
the
have plenty of friends I can hook you up with better than Scott.
Same thing
you
with
can
Tammy.
do
What the
better.
fuck is your ugly ass doing with that woman?
I keep dropping her off. She keeps coming home. I told her she can do better. It's not my
She
fucking
doesn't
fault.
leave the house. What do you mean? You keep coming back.
Oh, there we go. Turn her back up. She had life shit to do, so I had to turn her down. She can do better. I told her to take off.
Mine too.
Fucking
She said
crap.
she married me for my insurance and my dick.
Because
Mostly your
she
insurance.
likes laughs. The insurance is great, but the dick is tiny and makes me laugh. Is that what it is? Jesus Christ.
Not how deep you fish, it's how you wiggle your worm.
Is it? Let's see. What's the Cajun thing? 2 jerks and let it sink. 2 jerks, let it sink. 2 jerks, let it sink.
Yes, that is definitely a successful technique.
It is. I think.
Short, long.
Yep. There we go. But you had to push twice, maybe 3 times. What's the?
Sorry, Joey.
What's the? he's baby kangaroo's looking like I have to jerk.
No, I'm trying to remember what did it I is in Morse code.
What is it?
What is it? SOS?
SOS?
No, SOS is did da 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 did.
Yeah.
But no, did it da.
Oh,
You
God.
said-
Did you know fucking Morse code back in the day?
Yeah, I
That
did.
motherfucker did.
Yeah.
Did you?
guarantee- No.
I knew it for
Fuck.
light.
Did you ever know signal shit?
I knew the flag bag.
Did you?
Yeah,
Dude,
you know,
no-
all the phonetic alphabet flags, first, second, third, and fourth sub, and all the 10 numerals.
Dude, nobody listening to this knows anything what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
It's the bad thing is that this is just like
It's useless fucking information we had to
no,
memorize.
no.
Uniform. That's did it all.
No.
Oh, is that uniform?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Uniform.
you say it's fucking useless. I mean, I'm going to reference something that people nowadays should be able to understand. It's computer programming. What I think Baby Kangaroo knows a little bit about this. Computer programming, C+.
Zeros and ones.
C++.
Oh, we're not going to
Yeah.
go. We're not going zeros and ones. That's going to really fuck everybody's world up. But C+ or C++ is your basic. Like we're really going back at least now to basic kind of thing with C+ or C++. Knowing Morse code and flag signals and anything signaling, even like ball diamond ball. Whenever you're on a fucking boat. Like people don't understand, like that shit still holds value.
Oh yeah, it's still true.
Yeah.
All of it's still true.
Yeah,
It's
so-
still used in the maritime community.
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about like, oh shit, like something people boating community don't understand about like signal devices and shit. All they know is shoot this fucking flare up there,
Yeah.
and that's oh my god, and
They don't
flares.
understand like red over red, captain's dead.
Yep, yeah, there's so many things like nobody fucking understands. Computer programming is the same fucking way. Uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
Uh-oh. We're doing
Trump fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
Saw that.
Okay, then.
Did he?
Ours went first.
Ours went first.
Oh my God. Can we talk about that?
No, not on this podcast.
Probably not.
This isn't the one. We still have to get through disc golf. We're going
We
on
don't. We
2
can cover
hours.
disc golf another day.
Disc golf's gonna be quick.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about disc golf.
What do you think about disc golf?
I
Scott,
like it. It's fun.
Scott, you ever played disc golf?
I have not played disc golf.
Have you ever played real golf?
I fucking hate golf.
Jesus fucking Christ. He was a terrible person to have on this. For disc
So-
golf.
Smacking a little ass ball around acres of freaking land.
It's
Brad
called
and I both play
called
golf
yard
and disc
pool.
golf.
Yard pool.
Yard pool.
Yeah.
And
Disc
we
golf
don't
is-
keep score on either time we play. 'Cause,
No.
you
I
know,
could see myself liking disc golf. I honestly could.
I got a starter set, which is basically 3 discs. You can come kick it with us one time.
Okay.
And we actually play right here at Fretchy.
Fritchie, yeah.
Am I saying it right? Fretchy.
Yeah.
Because I don't speak.
There's
this-
also a course at the base. A 9-hole
Actually,
course.
a Diamond Head has a course at Twin Lakes.
Oh, do they really?
Do
Okay.
they?
I think it's only
and we've
9. I
played
think it's 9
Bogachita.
holes.
We're gonna come your way then.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll bring my shit disc. And all right, so yeah, obviously disc golf is gonna be quick because I mean, how long can you really talk about disc golf? It's not throwing a frisbee. I just want to start with that. It's not like fucking you're out in the backyard with your
It's not frisbee golf.
you're not an adult with your child who's like 6 and just like, oh, it's frisbee golf. Like it's not that at fucking all. It's the discs are made to see because you're a big proponent
Well,
of that.
Trent-
Velocity, the disc doesn't fly as it's
yeah.
designed if you don't have the velocity.
There's a lot of
Meaning-
engineering involved in it.
Yeah, so like you just like lovingly lob it, it's not gonna fly the way it's designed.
Yeah, the discs are numbered from like 0 to like 14.
Four different sets of numbers.
Oh yeah, you're right. It gets without drilling down into it too
we're
much.
not- we don't do that.
The numbers, the first number is you associate with what basically like a golf club. So the lower numbers would be your putters or your short range.
Correct.
And then you get into the 5s and 6s or your like mid range and approach. And then
And then the numbers are the last 2 numbers are what it's going to do at its
as it loses velocity.
Yeah, is it at
How
its
much
last
it's gonna
peak,
turn.
left and right kind of concept.
Yeah. Unlike golf, you don't throw the disc directly at your target.
Yes. It wound up being a lot more fun than what we thought. So we've played at Fretzy Park, which is in Slidell.
Yep.
We have done
Bogachita.
who has a great freaking course.
They
And
do
they've
have a
actually
great
had
course.
they've had tournaments there, and it's 18 holes, and they have 2 different baskets and 2 different tee boxes. So a combination of
So it really winds up being like four different courses.
Yeah. So it's great. It's super fun. Bogachita is awesome. The state park is phenomenal. Go check it out. It's frisbee-esque, not throwing a frisbee to your friend.
And it's much cheaper to get into than golf.
Yeah.
You get a good, you walk, you cover typical course. We cover 7,000 steps, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Brad and I have been known to play 2 18 holes
And
in
I
a
mean,
day.
and it's quick.
Yeah.
I mean, we're playing 2 18 rounds in
3 hours,
versus when we play golf, we're talking about 18.
3.5 hours just to do 18.
That was sweet. 3.5. I was saying 4 at least. There's usually Bloody Marys and
Well, you're right. Yes. That's
Yeah.
the problem. The turn.
yeah, the turn's a motherfucker.
Yeah. When you stop and get a Bloody Mary and another 6 beers.
Yeah, absolutely. It always works out that way. It's fucking great.
So, but try it. It's not terribly expensive to get into.
No.
Your starter kits were $40, something like that.
Well, if you just buy like something off Amazon, you'll get $40-$50.
Now it can get expensive when you start losing disc.
We've thrown
If you buy good disc.
Yeah, well, Twin Lakes, where ours is literally right by a lake. So
Dude, I'm totally.
do they
coming up-
float?
No,
No,
They do not float.
no,
No,
they
he
sink
lost-
like a mofo.
he lost his. You lost one in a stream, and Jason almost lost one in that little.
Yeah, we were lucky we found his.
I say stream. It's about this wide.
I know.
And they lost disc in it.
Jason plays frisbee golf.
Yeah.
A little ginger bitch.
Jason was lucky because I saw where his went in, and so we found it. The problem was that
We were digging with sticks. Like,
but mine it went in from the tee box, so
Yeah.
I never saw where it went in. I lost it.
And I give you one.
$20.
Yeah, they can get expensive.
Of course, how many of you lost in that hole not long after that?
Just shut the fuck up.
3 now or 4?
Shut the fuck up. I've chunked whatever.
I'm telling you, man, you need to get your waders. The water's down now.
Oh,
You should go try and find them.
I could
We probably found like 50 in there.
Get a pair of Cajun Reeboks.
Delray Reeboks?
waiters.
White, for those of you that don't know, they're the white shrimp and boots.
All right, we
Do
fuck.
not
All right.
date girls that wear those on a date.
No. Okay.
No.
That was awesome.
What if she says she swallows?
Well, you know, there's.
You know what? That's for the after party. All right. Yeah, here's what we're going to do. All right. We always have a happy hour afterwards. So we've been running on about a couple hours, which I think we've talked about enough good stuff. Hopefully you have taken to heart some of the boating safety stuff, which is probably our main thing that we wanted to talk about, because I just really wanted everybody to understand boating safety. But that's where we're at. We're going to do a happy hour. I don't know. Scott's got an engine to probably go home. I think Amy's probably trying to, jerking on his chain. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the outro. We're going to do a happy hour for maybe 15 minutes afterwards. We appreciate y'all listening this long. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it and did all that good stuff. And if you want to hang out afterwards, do so about 10 or 15. And then we'll catch you on the next episode of Pawn Shop.